Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call the Board of Governors meeting to order on this Monday, September the 20th, 2021. It starts at 12:30. Hopefully we have been prompt. And we will be going into closed session for approximately an hour. But in the meantime, I would like our board liaison to review the protocols and the procedures.
Thank you, President Haynes. To access the Board of Governors meeting agenda, please visit our website at www.cccco.edu and go to the About Us tab drop-down menu. From there, click the Board of Governors, then Meeting Schedule, Minutes, and Agenda, and select the blue agenda hyperlink. As a reminder, closed caption is available. Click the CC icon at the bottom of the screen labeled closed caption to read live captions. Members of the public wishing to comment on an agenda item may use the raise hand feature to make a verbal public comment to the board. A member of the Chancellor's office will announce your name and grant you the ability to speak. You are requested to identify yourself and present your public comment at that time. President Haynes, today is September 20th, 2021. Would you like me to begin roll call?
Yes, please.
I will now begin roll call. Hildegard Aguinaldo.
Present.
Darius Anderson.
Present.
Amy Costa.
Here.
Joshua Elizondo.
Present.
Tom Epstein. Felicia Escobar Carrillo.
Present.
Jolina M. Grande.
Present.
Pamela Haynes.
Here.
Kevin Hall.
Here.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis. Irma Olguin Jr.
Here.
Jennifer Perry.
Present.
Bill Rawlings.
Present.
Roy Shabazian.
Here.
Valerie Shaw.
Here.
Yulia Tarasova. Blas Villalobos.
Present.
Joseph Williams.
Here.
Thank you. President Haynes, quorum is established.
Thank you for that. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like one of our new board members to do the pledge with us, and that would be Roy Shabazian.
Thank you. As we say the pledge, just wanted to call our attention to a couple concepts in the pledge, the indivisibility and justice for all. Would you join me in saying the pledge to our flag and our republic? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for that. We are taking item 4.1 out of order, and before we go into closed session. So I'm going to have General Counsel LaForestier present on this item.
Thank you, President Haynes. Good afternoon, members of the board. So the first order of business here is that in order to go into closed session to discuss the financial aid fraud issue, it is required that the board approve the resolution to adjourn to closed session by a 2/3 vote. So I would ask that based on the agenda item that's been presented so far, that we have a motion to adjourn to closed session and that we take a vote on that.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
So moved. This is Member Grande.
Grande
Second.
moves. And who
Second.
seconds? Who second? I can't. I couldn't figure out which one of you. Three of you said second. So, all right. Williams. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams seconds that. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Hildegard Aguinaldo.
Aye.
Darius Anderson.
Yes.
Amy Costa.
Aye.
Tom Epstein. I'm unable to hear you, Member Epstein. Felicia Escobar Carrillo.
Yes.
Jolena Grande.
Aye.
Pamela Haynes.
Aye.
Kevin Hall.
Aye.
Let's see if the Lieutenant Governor has joined us. Okay. Irma Olguin Jr.
Aye.
Jennifer Perry.
Aye.
Bill Rawlings.
Aye.
Roy Shabazian.
Yes.
Valerie Shaw.
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova.
Aye.
Blas Villalobos.
Aye.
Joseph Williams.
Aye.
President Haynes, the motion carries.
All right.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, my link didn't let me speak. May I vote on this issue?
Yes, you may.
Aye, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. It's been recorded.
Okay. Then we are now going to go into closed session. And as I mentioned before, this should take about an hour. And you have another link to do that, members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I want to welcome everyone back. The Board of Governors heard a report. There are no actions to share with the public from our closed session. I'd like to start off with my report this afternoon. First off, today I want to welcome again our new board members. That's Board Member Irma Olguin, Board Member Joshua Elizondo, and Board Member Ray Shabazian. I want to welcome you to the Board of Governors. I've had the pleasure of exchanging communications with each of you, and I know that your talents and your expertise will help us continue to advance the vision for success. There are three areas that I want to talk about today in my report. One of them are our board learning sessions. As you know, in May, we agreed that we would offer, many of our board members asked for our sessions. These are learning sessions, and I wanted to speak to a couple of them. My second, the learning sessions that have been adopted was the opportunity for each of the board members to gain a deeper understanding of the necessary transformations in California community colleges to close equity gaps. And so I want to thank Acting Chancellor Gonzalez and the entire Chancellor's Office team for their detailed preparation and expertise. We are about to have our next learning session, which will take place October the 15th. I would encourage all of us to attend. And in particular, I want to do a special invitation to our new board members. The topic will be the student-centered financial aid and basic needs. So again, I want to encourage us all to attend. I have to tell you that as a former legislative staff member and a 22-year trustee at Los Rios, one would think that I've heard it all, I've seen it all, but the reality is that I have been able through these sessions to walk away from them with new insights about the work that we do. As we implement the vision for success, it's important that we connect our DEI work back to the classroom. And in the most recent session, that we need to help our system understand their evolving context. And we do that from helping students earn credentials that have a value in our changing economy. That was really laid out at our last learning session. And I'll digress just a little bit. we have been taught in educational systems that say, if you have a 4-year degree, once you graduate, that becomes your proxy for any employers. Now, the economy and reality has changed. And so many of our employers are saying, you don't necessarily, that's not what I'm looking for, folks. I am really looking for those individuals that have skills that are identified based on my particular needs. And the economy that we are now looking at, when I started many, many years ago, I could expect a 20-year longevity at one firm. That is not the reality for our students. What we are recognizing is that our economy demands that we have some training, but when we're in those jobs, we will need continuous training, which means that it's not necessarily 4 years, but it might be 4 months of training to reskill, to stay in that job and to progress. And so we have to be responsive to what the economy is telling us. And so I really appreciated the last session because it really laid out what the economy looks like, what the employers are asking for, and then what our students need to get from our colleges as they move forward and go into a work environment. The next item that I want to talk about is, I think we all know, and we've all been concerned about student affordable housing. And the legislature has put on the table close to $1 billion for the beginning salvo into trying to help to solve that particular issue. Let me also state that that's not nearly enough, but we're going to take it. There was $2 billion on the table. We were, I don't even want to use, we weren't greedy. We acknowledged that we needed all $2 billion. Well, we didn't get all $2 billion. We got 50%, and we asked for 60, we got 50. So it is a starting point around this particular issue. And I want to thank Vice President Costa and Member Tarasova for joining the Chancellor's Office and statewide stakeholders in convening in a convening that was related to this particular issue. Since that meeting, there's a recognition that the Chancellor's Office can make some inroads into that, but the Chancellor's Office is not a pass-through. It's not in charge. And that's critically important. The work we need to do needs to be in partnership with the Department of Finance and with Treasury. And so where we can be helpful is making certain that we identify the priorities that are critically important for our system. And the people that can speak to that are on our college campuses. They are our CEOs, they are our trustees, and they are the experts around facilities. And then we have to bring in additional experts around this particular issue. And so I know that this topic will continue to be a priority for the Chancellor's Office. And in our system budget request, like I said, this is the beginning of the conversation. It's not the end of the conversation. And this year in particular, the finance will be managing the process and making the determinations which projects will be funded. I should also mention that our colleges and our districts are in different stages of on working on this issue. We have colleges that have been involved in discussing this on their campuses for years. There are other colleges that have gone on their own. I can think of Compton as one of those, but there are others who have pieced together resources because they know how important this is. And then there are colleges that have thought that they were not capable of doing this and now feel that maybe they can. They've been thinking about it, but they will need planning dollars. And so there is this spectrum of 115 colleges that are at different stages, and we need to make certain that we are ensuring that we hear all of those voices, and that within the decision-making process, that the criteria for all to be engaged and all to get involved, especially in the field level, it has to happen. So my hope is that the Board of Governors and the system experts can provide this needed information to increase the knowledge about what is best for our students in future years. Our students are in need, and housing is one of those top priorities that they say that they need. We live in a high rent and a high value marketplace when it comes to housing, and so we need to keep that in mind as well. And so I would also say that our long-term solution has to ensure that equity is at the center of housing solutions for our students. So you're going to be able to expect in November, at the November's meeting, a full discussion of this. We will also make certain that whatever the president of the board has the distinction of being able to constitute a group to discuss this further. And so in consultation with our vice president, we're going to ensure that this becomes a public hearing so that all of the voices can be heard, and that we make certain that we get it right, and at least from our end. And again, I have to say that the money is not coming to the chancellor's office. We are not the state agency in charge of this. And so our power will be only in making certain that the voices that are critically important, and those are the ones in the field as well as the experts, have a forum for doing that. I would also ask that that we keep that in mind as we move forward. And I'm hoping that our November meeting will require a resolution, because this is not embedded within our regulations, our board policies, and so we will need to draft a resolution. And I know that our chancellor will make certain that that happens. And then finally, my last area is around enrollment. And again, this is a subject that Board of Governor members have been trying to stay on top of. It is a complex set of issues relative to enrollment. It is not easy. What I would also say is that enrollment is just one piece of the student success pipeline. And so for us to really understand it, we need to know all of the pieces that are there, and they are impactful relative to our students. And if we want our students to enroll in our system, we need to promise them success. And that means making the vision for success a reality. So ensuring that students complete degrees and credentials in a timely manner. And I want to focus in on timely, and that those certificates and credentials and degrees lead to good paying jobs with mobility. It is that full picture, that full complement of what we need to do in order to help our students get where they need to go and where they want to go. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the Chancellor's Office team for their guidance memos, their advocacy for additional resources, and for the professional development and statewide enrollment campaigns. All of this is working in tandem, in conjunction with making certain that the system gets what it needs and that our students get what they need. And so I would close this out by saying that as a board, our work is not done. Our work is never done. We need to stay focused, and the focus we need to stay on is on our student and on our student success. So with that, I would like to ask Acting Chancellor Gonzalez to deliver her first Chancellor's report. And for members of the public and for our new board members, Dr. Gonzalez is currently serving as our acting chancellor during Chancellor Oakley's sabbatical. She's received the board's unanimous support and previously served as our system's deputy chancellor. Again, I'd like to welcome her for her remarks.
Thank you, President Haynes. Good afternoon, Vice President Costa, board members. I've learned to expect anything, including construction starting in our roof today on the day that we are all in the office. So I quickly had to rush and find a new spot, but I think it's still loud. So please bear with me only for these next few minutes. I want to first start off by congratulating members Villalobos and Perry for their reappointment. While the confirmation process is not over, as they learned recently, they did an exceptional job representing their passion for our students and the work of this board and their commitment to that work during their confirmation hearings. They were not easy, so congratulations for making it through your hearings. I also want to welcome board members Elizondo, Shabazian, and Olguin to our statewide work to implement the Vision for Success. Thank you for answering the call to service and, more importantly, for joining us and helping our more than 2 million students during this time. Before I start my update, I have 5 key updates that I want to share with you, but I first want to start off by just sharing how proud I am to serve this system and work alongside the Chancellor's Office team, our campus leaders, and our statewide Student Senate leaders during this time. Since your last meeting, so just July, the system has continued to be at the front lines of the pandemic. A lot of folks forget that, but we are still in a global pandemic. Growing wildfires that impacted more than 6 of our campuses, a new variant, cyber attacks, and poverty. And despite all of that, we are staying optimistic. We believe that these experiences have made our system more resilient, more agile. And as we continue to recover, it will be critical that we remind everyone that our job is to remove barriers for students, and that the #1 way that we can do that effectively is implementing the Vision for Success. So today I want to share with you 5 critical updates that relate to the Vision for Success implementation. And they consist of the following: progress on district vaccine policies, new state investments, enrollment and student success, an update on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and our collective federal advocacy. So first, I'll share that in late July, President Haynes joined me to urge district leaders to adopt local vaccine policies. While the Board of Governors does not have the legal authority to require vaccinations for students and employees system-wide, I know some of you wish we did, this messaging reminded districts that they could take action and that they could protect their communities and that they could fight this pandemic. I am proud to share that as of today, 47 districts covering 76% of our students in our system have now adopted a vaccine policy. The rest of our districts continue to implement masking policies, and 4 more districts are expected to take action this week. I want to thank our statewide Student Senate, who adopted a resolution supporting vaccines and necessary flexibility at the statewide level. And of course, our CEOs and our district trustees who took action. I know that it has not been easy, but it is necessary. And so I want to encourage everyone to please get vaccinated. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of public comment after this. My next update is on new legislative investments. The legislative session concluded last week. There were a number of new pieces of legislation that will be impacting our system, many of which will help us advance the Vision for Success. A key part of that and a key part of the gratitude that I want to share for the legislature and the governor is their continued commitment to prioritize the basic needs of our students through further legislation. I know that you're going to get a full update from Vice Chancellor O'Brien, so I will only focus on the key topic of interest. And I know that our president already shared a little bit about this, but Vice Chancellor Navarrete was instrumental in making sure that the trailer bill language that was adopted for student housing included a carve out for our system. I know this was a topic of conversation in the convening with 2 of our board members, Vice President Costa and board member Yulia Tarasova. That was a really big request from our stakeholders. The work is certainly not done. These are resources that will be available to our system through 2024. So it's a multi-year investment. And while the Department of Finance is running and operating the process, and the additional oversight will be led by the joint legislative budget committees, this board and this system has some expertise that we need to leverage. So I know that in the coming days, aka in the next 40 days, when the Department of Finance application is due, all applications will be due on October 30th. We already have a commitment to do technical assistance to help our districts through the next few days, so to ensure that they are successful in applying. Long-term, our president has also instructed our office to create a comprehensive student housing plan, and that would include launching a committee, a statewide student housing committee. So we look forward to that work. It is critical from the stance of this board that we think comprehensively about what it means to create housing in this system. From our students, we have heard over and over again that for them, housing is a key component, but it's really around the wraparound services around the housing. So what is that structure for housing in California's community colleges? It has to include equitable access, student success as a part of that work, safety. And for you as board members, certainly the fiscal health is going to be a key component to ensure that costs are not passed down to students in longer years. So we look forward to providing you an update, but more importantly, launching that statewide student housing committee. My third update is on enrollment and student success. You know, that is the #1 question that I have gotten since having the opportunity to serve this system in this role. And I answer the question the same way in every single meeting, just as Chancellor Oakley would have. Educational experts around the nation have known that enrollment is down. For those in our state and certainly in our system, we have known for years that birth rates have been decreasing for decades. In fact, K-12 has been warning us for several years, and the legislature recognized this in their intentional design of Calbright and the Student Center funding formula. And yet in this pandemic and compounding emergencies, we have to stay proactive. We cannot let students give up on their dreams. So as a system, yes, we did complete a 2-week statewide enrollment campaign. That was only the beginning. I want to use this time to remind the system, to remind us that we have to focus on all students. What do I mean by that? It's the intentional design to reach new students by helping them understand that we can help them persist and succeed. We know that students speak to each other. And in this moment, when they are making life and death decisions about their lives and their families, they need to know that there is hope. And the best way that we can do that is by helping the students that we currently have in our system succeed. As a system, we have to stay focused on solutions and action, and remind those around us that we are focused on the student success pipeline, as President Haynes highlighted. But now, as the fall semester has started and several of our colleges are having their first day of instruction, including Lake Tahoe Community College, who had to delay their start because of the wildfire. But in this moment, as the fall semester has started, I want to remind our college leaders that they can do outreach, certainly outreach, communicating to students that there is emergency financial resources, that they can use their federal emergency dollars to meet student unmet needs. Yes, that includes childcare. And certainly remind our colleges that their HERF dollars, HERF 1 and 2, can also be used for outreach for those who have not completed their degree, and certainly those that took an excused withdrawal. If any of our colleges need a good model, I know Dr. Keith Curry in Compton is leading with students at the center of decision making. And lastly, in terms of this report on enrollment, our work is not complete. I want to thank the Academic Senate, certainly President Dolores Davison, our Student Senate President Gerardo Chavez, who will be joining me in an 8-stop tour for a fall student-centered listening tour. It's important that during this time, while our colleges are focused on their local policies and practice, we stay focused on what data we can collect in terms of what helps our students persist and what resources they need to succeed. We will use those listening tours to help us collect that information directly from students. My fourth update is related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Certainly in this time period, what I want to share is that for California's community colleges, diversity, equity, inclusion, equal employment opportunity, anti-racism have always been tools for student success. So therefore, continuing to make progress on diversity, equity, and inclusion is a student enrollment strategy. The Board of Governors did take action in July to update your equal employment opportunity regulations to integrate hiring practices back into the classroom, certainly into campus climate. And I'm proud to share that leading that work will be Dr. Bull, visiting executive of educational excellence and equal employment opportunity programs. And I asked him to be here to wave at you, but let me just share a little bit about Dr. Bull. Dr. Bull came to the United States at the age of 5 as a Somali refugee. He joins our office through an interjurisdictional exchange with San Diego City College, where he was an assistant professor and transfer center director. This is a really big win for our system office and for our students. He has been a key trainer of all professional development for the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges on DEI, and a statewide leader on Aid to Mend, which, as you know, uplifts African-American men in our system. So welcome to the team, Dr. Bull. Thank you for joining us. I also want to share under DEI that you got to experience a briefing on DEI from Lasana Hotep. In order to advance the work, one of the #1 requests from the system, and certainly our DEI statewide committee, was 2 key modules that could actually help us have the same language for how we talk about this issue. Those modules will be released after this board meeting. And I do want to thank the Academic Senate representatives appointed by President Davison, certainly all of our colleagues in the DEI implementation work group. They spent countless hours reviewing the same video so that we can have statewide modules that are available to all of our colleges. So I want to thank them. We will also be providing the board a DEI update in your next meeting. And lastly, let me just finish with federal advocacy. I know this has probably been top of mind for many of you. Certainly in the last 24 hours, there was a lot of federal, I will say, glimpses of hope, but also disappointments. So let me just say, in the next few weeks, and certainly today you'll get an update, we need to stay focused on federal advocacy. Certainly President Biden's Build Back Better agenda is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to support community colleges, our infrastructure, our financial aid transformations. You're going to hear more about this, and you're going to have an opportunity to take action to ask our districts to join us in federal action together. But I want to take this moment to encourage all of our system stakeholders to be a part of this historic opportunity to ensure that California, who serves 1 in 4 community college students nationwide, gets the resources that it deserves. And I want to thank Dr. Larry Galizio from the League for their urgent federal advocacy and convening all of the CEOs to take action. With that, and in the interest of time, I'm looking at our time, I will conclude my report and just wish everyone a happy National Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. Many of our campuses are hosting several events, and I will be joining Moorpark College later this month, along with Vice Chancellor Navarrete and Vice Chancellor Alvarado. Thank you.
So thank you for that report, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez. We're going to move into our consent agenda. Vice Chancellor Navarrete.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Today on your consent agenda are the board meeting minutes of your meeting for July 12th through 13th. You will find them in item 3.1 that is presented for you for consent.
So thank you for that. I can now entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. This is Member Grande.
Thank you. And can I get a second?
Second by Tarsova.
Thank you. We have a second. Can we get a roll call vote on this item?
Certainly. Hildegard Aguinaldo.
Aye.
Darius Anderson.
Yes.
Amy Costa.
Aye.
Tom Epstein.
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo.
Aye.
Jolina Grande,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
Aye.
Kevin Hall, Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis,
Aye.
Irma Olguin Jr.,
I'll abstain.
Jennifer Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Aye.
Roy Shabazian,
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova,
Aye.
Blas Villalobos,
Aye.
Joseph Williams,
Aye.
and one more time, Kevin Hall. He's currently muted at this time, but the motion carries.
Thank you for that.
Can I just interject? I think member Elizondo was skipped, and so I want to make sure Ms. Castro knows that he's a voting member.
He's not a voting member quite yet. And
Sorry.
I spoke, that's okay. I was trying to make him a courtesy vote, but legal told me I couldn't do that either. But he will be voting soon enough. Thank you so much. The next order of business, we're going into our action agenda. We've handled 4.1, so we're moving into 4.2, which is approval for contracts and grants. Vice Chancellor Navarrete, it's still your party.
Hi, good afternoon again. I'm presenting to you item 4.2, approval of contracts and grants. As you may know, under the board's procedures and standing orders, the Chancellor is required to receive approval on any contracts in excess of $100,000 in duration of over 3 years, or with respect to consulting services in excess of $50,000. For September, we are bringing 6 items to you for consideration. These contracts and grants consist of the following. The first is a new contract with the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistant Team. Our partnership with FCMAT, as they're known, is not new. The contract is, again, revised. What they do in partnership with the Chancellor's Office is perform audits, examinations, all in the effort of advancing sound fiscal practices and monitoring district fiscal health. They also are partners in technical assistance as we prepare districts to address any accreditation efforts and ensure that they have a successful accreditation visit. The second item is for the Mathematics, Engineering, Science, and Achievement grants known as MESA. And this would continue to expand new contracts and programs at 34 districts. And so you see the list of districts presented for you. The third is a new grant with the Butte Glen Community College District on behalf of the Chancellor's Office to develop in partnership with the California Conversation Corps, apologies, sustainable community college education, training, and awareness. And this is an effort that was funded in the state budget. The fourth is for a new contract with CDCR, the California Department of Corrections, to provide career technical education training with inmate populations. They've currently already developed 20 CTE programs, and this contract would enhance that work and expand its services. And then the last 2 are amendments to existing contracts. The first is the California Apprenticeship Initiative. This just provides a no-cost extension to Riverside Community College District. And then the 6th is an extension for an interjurisdictional exchange for Assistant Vice Chancellor of Workforce and Economic Development with the LACCD District. I will pause there for any questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I see one hand up, Member Perry.
Thank you. Thank you. And I thank you for that update. And I just wanted to say I was so happy to see the grant to the California Conservation Corps. They do such good work. I've seen it in Los Angeles. And not only I think it's a perfect fit, as is demonstrated by the 586 youth that they put on a pathway. It also fits into, I think we're talking about it tomorrow, some of our work on climate change. So it's nice that we're creating some climate warriors, as it were. And I just had one question. There's the number saying how many youth we put on the right path with the first iteration of this. Do we have a goal for the second iteration? I didn't think I was just curious what that number was.
The second iteration includes a similar goal and also expanding more of the career pathways. So as options for other colleges to expand their work in this area, some educational programs, and then dissemination of effective practices should other districts really want to expand work in this space.
Are there other questions from board members? I don't see any other hands raised. Is there any public comment?
Public comment period for item 4.2 is now open. Please use the raise hand feature to make a comment to the board. If you're calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak your comment. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. This item did not receive any written comments, and I will hand it over to my colleague Gary for any raised hands.
At this time, there are no raised hands for this item.
All right, thank you. Then seeing no more comments, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Perry moves. Can I get a second?
Second, Anderson.
Anderson seconds. Can you please call the roll?
Yes. Hildegard Aguinaldo,
Aye.
Darius Anderson,
Aye.
Amy Costa,
Aye.
Tom Epstein,
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo,
Aye.
Jolena Grande,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
Aye.
Kevin Hall,
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis.
Sorry, wrong button. Aye.
Irma Olguin Jr.,
I'll abstain.
Jennifer Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Aye.
Roy Shabazian,
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova,
Aye.
Blas Villalobos,
Sorry, wrong button. Aye.
Joseph Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. President Haynes, the motion carries.
Thank you. Our next item is 4.3. It's an amendment to the standing orders for transfer agreement, non-discrimination requirement. We have General Counsel Forrest DA, and I'll let you do any co-presenters.
No co-presenters today. Thank you, President Haynes and members. I think you'll recall that there was a fairly lengthy discussion of this item when we provided notice of it at our last meeting. We've received no comments or concerns about this item from any source. We continue to believe that it's important for the Board of Governors to provide this direction to the Chancellor's office with respect to transfer agreements to ensure that our resources, meaning the Chancellor's office resources in staff time and otherwise, are expended to support transfer agreements to institutions that share our commitment to non-discrimination. And again, we're not preventing students from transferring to any college of their choice. That's not what this amendment would do. It is just providing direction to the Chancellor's office on these transfer agreements. And so if there are questions, I'd be happy to take them now. And otherwise, I would request respectfully your a motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members on this item? I do not see any hands raised. Is there any public comment?
The public comment period for item 4.3 is now open. Please use the raise hand feature to make a comment to the board. If you are calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. This item did not receive any written comments, and I will hand it over to my colleague Gary for any raised hands.
There are no raised hands.
All right, then can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Anderson moves and Hall seconds. Can I get a roll call, please?
Hildegard Aguinaldo,
Aye.
Darius Anderson,
Yes.
Amy Costa,
Aye.
Tom Epstein,
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo,
Aye.
Jolina Grande,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
Aye.
Kevin Hall.
Here.
Is that an I vote?
Yes.
Perfect. Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis,
Aye.
Irma Olguin Jr.,
Aye.
Jennifer Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Aye.
Roy Shabazian,
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova,
Aye.
Blas Villalobos,
Aye.
Joseph Williams.
Yes.
President Haynes, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Our next item is 4.4, which is an amendment to board procedures, student member voting rights. General Counsel LaForestier will be presenting on this item.
Also my pleasure. So the legislature has enacted Assembly Bill 337. The effect of that bill is to change the education code effective January 1st of 2022 to allow both of our student members to vote on all matters before the Board of Governors. And this amendment to the board's procedures, it only requires one reading, and it would bring the board's procedures into conformity with state law effective January 1st. And if there are no questions, I would again ask respectfully for a motion to approve the resolution.
All right, I'm going to do my due diligence and ask if there's any questions relative to the board. I see one hand raised. Board Member Tarasova.
It will be a comment though. Is that okay, President Haynes?
It will, oh, certainly, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. This item is the historical celebratory moment for all generations, past and present student members on the Board of Governors. Today, California Community Colleges system is the nationwide leader of being the student-centered system. As much of the current equity work in higher education directly depends on empowering student perspective, helping guide the creation and implementation of future policies that will improve student success. Upon my appointment, I was coming from over 3 years of extensive experience as student leader and taking such an active role at various boards. And as you might recall, at the beginning of my term, I had quite a few awkward moments when I was either too eager to support an item on DEI statement or seconding the motion, but unfortunately I wasn't able to as the first year student member. Empowering students in governance process is imperative because no constituency understands the challenges students face like students do. When the student voice is used as a tool in policy making, policies are more student-focused and enjoy greater longevity. Embedding the diverse perspectives of students in policy ensures a stronger focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. A stronger focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion ensures that our vision for success is achievable. This is an important historical moment for student advocacy within the state of California, as in this item, Board of Governors recognizes the importance of empowering the student perspective, as both of the students of the board will be able to enjoy full rights and privileges, including attending all closed sessions upon their appointment. Although the bill was signed by the governor in June, it is my pleasure to celebrate with you once again, no more awkward moments for the first year student member, and the broader idea of empowering student leader voice in the governance process that starts with me and Joshua, and for all future generations of student leaders that will be serving on the Board of Governors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ulia. I don't think anybody could have said that better than a student than you. And I'm gonna close this out by then asking if there's any public comment on this, and then we can move forward with a vote.
The public comment period for item 4.4 is now open. please use the raise hand feature to make a comment to the board. If you're calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raised hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to address the board. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. This item did not receive any written comments, and I will hand it over to my colleague Gary for hands raised.
We do have 2 hands raised at this time. We'll start with Wendy Brill Winecoop. You have control. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a technical issue here. Hang on just a moment. Okay, Wendy, you should be able to address the board now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, President Haynes, Vice President Costa, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez, and members of the Board of Governors. I'm Wendy Brill Winecoop, President of the Faculty Association of the California Community Colleges. FAC has always believed that the best advocate for students is the students themselves. FAC supports the student voice in shared governance and supported AB 337 in the legislature. Adding a student vote to the board is necessary to ensure all of the board's decisions include the student perspective. We are in favor of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Gian Gayatao. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. You can address the board.
You got it right, Mr. Alexander. Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, to the Board of Governors, President Hayes, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez. And I think Board Member Tarasoa pretty much covered a lot of our thoughts and perspective of the student. The SSCCC supported AB 337 of Assemblymember Berman last academic term, and we are fully in favor of the Board of Governors to adopt changes in the voting procedures to allow the junior Board of Governors members to have full voting rights. This will ensure students who have equitable representation. As President Haynes mentioned earlier, our vision of success revolves around leadership driven by equity. And that means having students really reach the pursuit of education, their most meaningful passions in life, and making an impact in this ever evolving world and leave it better than it was when we found it. So thank you. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. I don't see, I do see another hand raised,
Yes.
Doris Davidson.
Yes, Dolores, you should be able to unmute yourself and you can address the board.
Thank you so much, and my apologies, Board President Haynes. I am in for the next item and was worried you would not be able to see my hand. So thank you very much. Good afternoon, Board President Haynes, Vice President Costa, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez, and the rest of the board, and especially congratulations to our 2 student board members. I will echo President Brill Winecoop's comment that the best advocates for students are always the students themselves. The faculty like to help as much as we can, but we recognize how important your voices are. I have never thought of any of the first-year board members as secondary players. I have always appreciated their insights and their intelligence and their dedication to all the work that's being done. And the entire Academic Senate congratulates you for this momentous occasion. And we are very much looking forward to this amendment being passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
There are no other public comments.
Thank you. Then I am going to ask for a motion for approval, and I do want to recognize our student trustee to make that motion.
I will happily move that.
Good. Can I get
I'd be delighted to second it and no longer be the newest voting member of this board.
so we can have Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis be the second on that? Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Hildegard Aguinaldo.
Absolutely, yes.
Darius Anderson.
Yes.
Amy Costa.
Aye.
Tom Epstein.
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo,
Aye.
Jolina Grande,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
An emphatic yes.
Kevin Hall,
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis,
Aye.
Irma Olguin Jr.,
Aye.
Jennifer Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Yes.
Roy Shabazian,
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova,
1,000 times yes.
Blas Villalobos,
Aye.
Joseph Williams.
Yes.
President Haynes, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item 4.5, which is the disciplines list revision. We have Vice Chancellor Lowe as a presenter. I will allow you to introduce your co-presenters if you have them.
Thank you very much, BOG President Haynes. Good afternoon, Board of Governors. Aisha Lowe, Vice Chancellor of Educational Services and Support, joined on this particular item with the President of our statewide Academic Senate, Dolores Davison. So we are happy to bring before you item 4.5, an update to the disciplines list. It is our recommendation to the Board of Governors to approve this revision to the disciplines list to add 2 disciplines, film and media studies, as well as digital fabrication. This is an item that we do bring on a regular basis. I will not spend too much time giving background information. This process of updating the disciplines list is an important process within our system. It is a partnership with the statewide Academic Senate, where the Academic Senate works with faculty from across the state to bring forward proposals for addition to the disciplines that are then considered at their plenary sessions. We had to sort of bifurcate the process this past year and a half due to COVID-19, but we are all caught up and back on track for our regular scheduling of bringing these items before you. I will turn it over to Academic Senate President Dolores Davison to see if there's any additional context she wants to add about these 2 specific disciplines.
Good afternoon again, President Haynes, Vice President Costa, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez, and the board. This did follow our regular process. We are back on track, as Vice Chancellor Lowe pointed out, no more weird bifurcation. Although I think that this particular year's 2 submissions are a great example of how one discipline is being revised and updated because it was viewed by the discipline faculty as not being as up to date as it could be, while a second discipline is being added because this particular discipline in terms of manufacturing has gone beyond what was previously part of the discipline list. And so we have both a new submission and a proposed revision. And so we very much would appreciate your support in bringing these forward and approving of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions or comments relative to this item? I see Board Member Epstein.
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm not sure if I've seen this in my years on the board, a discipline list revision, and it seems like the kind of thing that maybe should be happening regularly. How often do these come up, and is there a huge demand for it, and do people have the resources to do it to keep up with the changing world?
I'm happy to answer that, Vice Chancellor Lowe. So the discipline list revisions happen every year. The disciplines list process is a year-long process. It opens in typically the early fall. It involves hearings at the plenary session by discipline faculty, industry experts, and others. Those hearings are open to anyone who wishes to attend. They do not have to be a registered plenary attendee to participate. It is then vetted by the discipline faculty in the field. It is voted on at the plenary session. So at our spring plenary session, the delegates from the 115 academic senates and the 10 district senates, along with the executive committee, voted to send both of these proposals forward, one a new discipline, one a revision. Once it is approved by the Board of Governors, they will become active. And so discipline faculty will begin working on ensuring that those revisions take place. In terms of the ability to do this, I will say that neither of these disciplines received significant concerns around what it would take to implement them. And in fact, in the case of digital fabrication, there are already colleges doing this. It's just a matter of now recognizing the specialization of the discipline.
But also just the question about, does this need to be done? I mean, is this a rare thing, or is the world changing so fast that we should be doing this more often?
It used to be a 2-year process. We condensed it down to a 1-year process about 3 or 4 years ago. We typically get 2 or 3 requests a year. So I don't think it needs to be done more often. It's a pretty heavy lift for a lot of the disciplines because they do need to talk to industry experts. They want to make sure it's done correctly, and we want to make sure that it's vetted properly in the field, and that we touch all the professional organizations and ensure that they are all on the same page as much as possible. So currently there are no expectations to condense it to perhaps a 6-month period, but certainly if we see a rapid increase in the future, that might be something we might want to do.
Are there any other board member questions or comments? I don't see any hands raised. And if not, then, board member Terasova.
Thank you, President Haynes. Immigrating to California, if somebody asked me what California is famous for, I would say Hollywood. So now that I have learned that there is so much more to our state than that, I would like to thank Academic Senate for their efforts in revisiting film and media studies, as well as introducing the new discipline of digital fabrication technician to ensure that upon graduation, our community college students are the most competitive within the workforce market upon recovery with equity. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other board member hands raised, is there any public comment on this item?
The public comment period for item 4.5 is now open. Please use the raise hand feature to make a comment to the board. If you're calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. This item did not receive any written comments, and I will hand it over to my colleague Gary for any hands raised.
There are no hands raised.
Thank you. We've gone through our comments and public comments, so I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve. Shabazian.
Tarasova seconds.
And Tarasova seconds. Would you please call the roll?
Hildegard Aguinaldo,
Aye.
Darius Anderson,
Yes.
Amy Costa,
Aye.
Tom Epstein,
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo,
Aye.
Jolena Grande,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
Aye.
Kevin Hall,
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis,
Aye.
Irma Olguin Jr.,
Aye.
Jennifer Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Aye.
Roy Shabazian,
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova,
Aye.
Blas Villalobos,
Aye.
Joseph Williams.
Yes.
Thank you, President Haynes. The motion carries.
Thank you so much. Moving right along, 4.6 is our budget and legislative request for the 2022-23 budget cycle. Vice Chancellor Navarrete and Vice Chancellor O'Brien will be presenting on this item.
Good afternoon, members of the board. As mentioned, I'm Vice Chancellor Lizette Navarrete, and here joined with my colleague, Vice Chancellor David O'Brien, to present the 22-23 system budget request for the board's consideration. Next slide, please. And so our system budget request, as you'll hear, is framed around students first and leading California's equitable recovery. And we'll share why those themes emerged and why we're excited to put this forward. Next slide. We will cover a little bit about the process for development of this system budget request, details about what's included, and then we'll cover areas of legislative focus for the 22 calendar year and some next steps. With that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Vice Chancellor O'Brien, to share a little bit about the development process.
So much. Good afternoon, board members. Vice Chancellor David O'Brien, Government Relations. I want to echo Acting Chancellor Gonzalez's apologies in advance if there is noise. I am also in the Chancellor's Office headquarters today, and the work that is going on the roof seems to have been timed to occur directly above my office at the exact time I started speaking. But I'm happy to discuss a little bit about the 2022-23 system budget and legislative request, how it was developed so that there's a clear understanding of the consultative process that our two divisions, College Finance and Facilities Planning and Government Relations, went through in conjunction with the leadership of the Acting Chancellor and the other divisions here at the Chancellor's Office. So thank you. Yes, perfect timing. The process, which we gave a brief update on, I believe, at the July board meeting, starts all the way back, typically in around May, meaning that we started working on the 2022-23 system budget and legislative request in May of 2021. Yes, you heard that right. While the legislature was still actually finalizing negotiations, you may recall, with the governor over the 2021-22 state budget. But we always start by meeting with our consultation council and reviewing our unmet or the priorities that were not funded in the prior year, and determining whether any of them are no longer relevant or valid, or assuming most of them need to be advanced yet again, because those priorities are still there, the programs and the mandates are still in place nearly all of the time. We use that as our baseline for the request process that we then developed throughout the summer. We encouraged our consultation council partners to submit request items on their own, as well as a slightly wider net. Our fellow vice chancellors here at the Chancellor's Office and all of our colleges and districts were invited to make submissions to the 22-23 system request this year. We were pleased to bring in, Vice Chancellor Navarrete, I forget the exact total, but if the number comes to you, the total number of requests we received, we were pleased to have a healthy volume of requests to review over the summer, which was reviewed for alignment to the Vision for Success, to our existing budget and legislative mandates, to ongoing priorities of the board and the Chancellor's Office, as well as to other items which have now become part of the fabric of everything that we do here at the Chancellor's Office, such as AB 705 around equitable placement, to use just one of many examples. The list was distributed broadly for comments and considerations, as well as we were pleased to hold a budget workshop with the Consultation Council, and then we reviewed the ongoing request item with the Consultation Council in August and again in September, and are pleased to bring it to here today for your review, after which, if it is approved by the Board of Governors, will be submitted to the Department of Finance and ultimately to the legislature for consideration. I'll turn it back to Vice Chancellor Navarrete.
Thank you. Next slide, please. And so as you read through the document and the various requests submitted by our colleagues and stakeholders, what you'll see are 6 key themes that emerge. One is supporting institutional quality and capacity, including supporting advancements for modernization needed to continue our work in the 21st century. The others are support for faculty and staff, one-time funding requests in various areas, efforts for student equitable recovery, college affordability and supports continue to be a key area, and then a major request for capacity to support the largest system of higher education, and I'll share more about that. Next slide, please. All of these components again led to what seemed to be a clear thread across all of these requests, is that we were putting students first and that we wanted to lead California's equitable recovery. And so what you'll see in the various request details really align to this idea and notion. Next slide, please. So in the area of students' equitable recovery, there are some targeted requests for resources to address student need. Next slide, please. These include basic needs, the the budget bill and the trailer bill, AB 132 and 129, have various areas to establish basic needs centers and a role for the system office as well as our colleges around basic needs to continue these efforts, including CalFresh, food pantries, amongst others. And so there's a request for 50 million ongoing in this area to support that work. We also continue to believe that Black student success needs to be a priority. And so we have a request of one time in nature to conduct a comprehensive study to examine core components and practices that we can learn from Umoja, and for 1.1 million for the expansion of amend centers and charters at colleges. They're great work to advance across our system. Next slide, please. In this area, we also have requests for supports for foster youth, 20 million, and 20 million ongoing, and 2 million for foster kinship education care. Textbook affordability continues to be both a policy priority, an implementation priority, as well as a resource area of investment. So we see that included there. And then in the 21-22 system budget, or the final enacted budget, we saw that there were several affected populations that only received a 1.7 COLA. So we're asking for restoration of those programs, and they include the Disabled Student Services Program, DSPS, and CalWORKS. Next slide, please. Continuing our conversation about equitable recovery, this was one of the years that was rare, and we're hoping is not rare moving forward, where our colleges got dedicated resources for outreach, for enrollment, for retention efforts. We're seeking that this continues to be a practice. We are out, we're being out communicated, out marketed by for-profits. And these resources don't just support our marketing efforts, they also support on the ground engagement to bring back students that may have stopped out for whatever reason, and to really help in our persistence efforts. So we see a request of 2.3 million for the 22-23 year, and these would be ongoing. Next slide, please. And the areas of college affordability, we have lots of work to do to ensure that our students are adequately supported, that we have the wraparound services to advance this agenda. Next slide, please. I'll first lead with the Prop 98 components of this request, which is one area of districts that we see had a decline in resources, an actual reduction, is our financial aid offices. The reason that these offices have had a decline in their budget is that their formula for crafting their allocation is based on enrollment and other factors that we know that demographically long-term will continue to decline. But their role has been very important in this time. They've been helping ensure that students had access to emergency grants, that they had supports in applying for CalFresh, and an overall closing educational and equity gap. So we're asking for both policy changes in that formula and additional resources to support their important work. On non-98 resources, we want a major investment in student housing. As was mentioned earlier, the new and the final higher ed trailer bill, SB 169, included $1 billion that will eventually go to California community colleges, to the DOF, for student housing. We believe that there is much greater need than what's included. And so we want to advance a request for 900 million one time, get us closer to that 60%. And then we believe that it's important for the system office, Board of Governors, and as a collective whole, the California community colleges are supported as they develop affordable student housing strategies and programs locally. And so we believe that that work can happen with 50 million ongoing, again, non-98 resources in this area. Next slide, please. For supports in institutional capacity, I'll highlight a few key components of this request. Next slide, please. So another area of our work that is critical as we tackle these twin pandemics, systemic racism and the health pandemic, is to continue our diversity, equity, and inclusion work of cultivating diversity, promoting equity, and fostering inclusion. And so to support that agenda, we're requesting 91 million, of which 51 would be ongoing to provide college resources, support guidance and advancement of DEI and EEO strategies. Next slide, please. And continuing our efforts around supports for institution, we're requesting 500 million ongoing as base funding for colleges. This addresses the various new programs that they have to implement both statutorily and also ones that advance student success and equity on their campuses to support the outcomes of underserved students. It also aligns closer to a 5% increase. Our guided pathways work continues, and so we're requesting one-time 100 million to continue this work and the system-wide shift to guided pathways as a framework by 2027. And aligned with this work and in continuing to advance the efforts of this that were requested in a prior bill of 2018, the system streamlined reporting process is something that will really help districts utilize the data that's already required to be reported in statute, but often is done in silos and not leveraged for advancing local practices or to inform budgeting decisions. And so this has been a pilot that you'll hear more about later in the agenda. So we're requesting 250,000 ongoing and 2.5 million one time to launch this as a system-wide effort. Next slide, please. Continuing in the area of supporting institutional quality and capacity, modernization and protection of sensitive data across our system is an important strategy. Our colleges are not just brick and mortar campuses now. They are campuses that rely heavily on technology and that are living in a world that is advancing at record pace. And so we need to be able to keep up with not only the advancements in learning, but the technology needs of our campuses and to keep pace with the modernization needs and any cybersecurity threats. And so we're asking for an investment, 100 million, 25 of which would be ongoing for modernization of our technology. A subset of this is a request specifically for student application experience redesign, which would be put into place immediately to modernize the application and onboarding process of various EdTech portfolios that include CCC Apply, OpenCC, and MyPath. And our work as distance education continues. And so we believe that investments in this area require an ongoing cost of 5 million. Next slide, please. Pension relief is something that our colleges were very put forward, many of our system stakeholders put forward, and many of our colleges put forward as one of their the areas that's growing as a cost center for them. And so they're really asking for relief in this space, as we've seen done in prior budgets. And then our facilities supports and deferred maintenance continue to be key areas of need. As a system, we have a backlog of nearly $1 billion. And as we advance into an area where we have more housing and supports, we also believe that we need to build that in as part of our different maintenance strategies. So we're requesting both non-98 and 98 resources in this area for that reason. Next slide, please. And then we get into one core area, which is supports for faculty and staff, 100 million ongoing to support our full-time faculty and encourage colleges to use EEO as hiring, as many of them are bringing on new faculty to reflect the needs and the rich diversity of our students. Supports for part-time faculty were identified as a key need. And then as we bring new leaders on our campuses, new faculty, new staff to support myriad of efforts that are emerging on our campuses, we believe that ongoing professional development needs to be a key and ensures that we can keep pace with the change. And so we're requesting 25 million ongoing. Next slide, please. And then I'll wrap up with one area again around capacity to support the country's largest system of higher education. If you're wondering which system that is, that's us as a California Community Colleges. Next slide, please. And so for context, long have we had a capacity imbalance. You may know this, it's probably not a surprise, but I just really want to put it into context. UC serves 285,000 students, apologies, and 10 universities with a system office capacity of 1,900 staff for 10 campuses, 285,000 students. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that alone they have 70 lawyers to continue to help inform their various changes as they deal with new emergency strategies, et cetera. CSU as a system of students of 481,000 roughly, and 23 campuses, system office alone, not campuses, not the universities itself, 715. And the California Community Colleges with over 2 million students in 116 colleges has a system office capacity of 150 individuals. And so this request is really seeking to have a balance so that we can continue to advance the system for a request. We know this is bold, but long have we timidly asked for one person here, one person there, forced to contract out almost some of the most important functions within our system. Just to have a system office role and true engagement in student housing, we would require 2 staff to continue to advance our work around AB 705 and truly dedicate implementation time. We need 2 staff for that. The various bills and budgets that have come forward this year need about 13 individuals to dedicate the true implementation to support the colleges, provide them the data that they need to make this happen. Prior efforts around implementation and transition to the student-centered funding formula never really received resources, and we're at the point where colleges need data to do some long-term planning. Those efforts need 2 staff. Our continued efforts around ensuring that we have capacity and captioning for all, so that we have access to all of our materials really requires 1 person. And then all the various changes you see in Title V truly need about 2 people or more. And then in the tech and research area, as you will hear in the streamlining report update, we have over 100 categoricals that we are managing. And those often have reports to the legislature that require extensive data and research. And so those need about 8 individuals. These areas really fall into work in the following categories. It's advancing educational services and workforce, fiscal health and resiliency, including the long-term affordability needs of our system, climate action, legal and regulatory efforts that are necessary to ensure that the Board of Governors is actively engaged as we guide and support our system, communications and governmental accountability, and then of course, robust technology in this modern era. So that is essentially what comprises our system budget request for 22-23. And let me move to the next slide, please, as we share a little bit about the next steps. So our first step that you will see here is presenting this for your consideration. The other is by September 30th, providing this legislative request with additional details and BCPs to the Department of Finance. And then we do the work of engaging and building the case for this request, engaging our partners, releasing sign-on letters, and then the governor would release the 22-23 state budget proposal in January. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague David to cover our legislative areas of focus.
Thank you so much. So board members, before we proceed on the legislative component of the request, I do just want to note that for the most part, because of the timing of where we're falling in the cycle between budget and legislation right now, this portion of the request is not comprised at this time of what I would call sort of firm ideas set in concrete. So we can move to the next slide. With the provision or with the understanding that we don't have bills or language that we're presenting to you today on these 4 pieces of potential legislation, but that these are concepts that we're looking to explore and goals that we're hoping to enact this year. So first and foremost, at the top of our list, I really want to thank Board Member Williams for championing this item and bringing this to our attention. Has to do with costs and access to textbooks and instructional materials. So this is something that Board Member Williams' district, San Bernardino, has been a leader in, and that the board member has been discussing with the Chancellor's office and with a couple of our colleagues about the notion of pursuing the concept of, instructional materials and textbooks being included with general education courses. So we want to continue advancing this concept with the end goal of all students having equitable access to all textbooks and instructional materials, whether or not that means, you know, free or no out-of-pocket costs, or just included in course fees when those are applicable. There remains some detail to be determined here, but it is a concept that not just Board Member Williams, but the Student Senate and many other internal system stakeholders and leaders brought to our attention and wanted to see included in this request. Second, we continue to pursue equity in financial aid and expanding our state financial aid programs to address the total cost of, you'll see that we have it crossed out there. Officially speaking, it's to address the total cost of attendance. But as we continue to advance the work of our financial aid and basic needs ecosystem, and as we prepare for next month's learning session that I'm pleased to be co-presenting with Vice Chancellor Rebecca Ruan O'Shaughnessy on what the creation of that ecosystem means, we want to reframe financial aid and students' financial health as being not just about the cost of what it costs them to attend community college, but really what it costs them to thrive, to succeed, because that is the outcome of ensuring that students have sufficient basic needs coverage in financial aid is their success, not just their attendance. We'll also point out workforce education. We'll be working with our Workforce and Economic Development Division to modernize our Economic and Workforce Development Program, which is due to sunset after next year. And the language governing that program really has not been updated substantially since the 1990s, when we know that California's economy and the whole world's economy has changed significantly. So it's changing, probably changed since the last sentence I spoke at the rate things are going. So we will be working on statutory changes to update that program and our workforce programs in general. And then finally, stay tuned on this one. We're looking for ways we can actually expand the protections of Assembly Bill 540, which will come up in the next item as we commemorate the 20th anniversary of that pioneering legislation here in California. I think we'd like to see even greater equity and access for our undocumented students than we have now. So again, details still to be worked out there, but these are the legislative themes, I believe, as Vice Chancellor Navarrete put it, that we hope to be pursuing through legislation next year. I believe that concludes my portion, so it'll be back to Vice Chancellor Navarrete.
Thank you very much. So that for us presents the 22-23 system budget and legislative request. And at this time, happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that. I see 3 hands raised. We'll take them in this order. Board Member Rawlings, Board Member Anderson, and then Board Member Shabazian.
All right. Thank you. I've got a couple themes here that I wanted to touch on, all kind of relate back to the student, but in maybe some oblique ways. First, I wanted to make a comment. Thank you for including professional development for faculty and staff. It's an area that I think is often neglected, where we need to really make sure that our employees are keeping up their skills in order to serve our students well, especially as we've gone through this learning exercise through the pandemic about how we can serve our students better. The next area I wanted to ask about is usually we get a separate report out on capital outlay and the capital outlay funds, and was wondering if that was included as part of the modernization section of your presentation, or is there an update you can provide? And the reason I ask that is I know that there are some colleges with some fairly aging facilities that probably need some attention and some love. And so I wanted to make sure that we're appropriately addressing that and making requests for that. Second question deals with stabilization. I know that we have stabilization funding for FTES, but I don't believe that there are a lot of protections on the supplemental or the success metrics and that portion. And I know that with the limited access our financial aid folks have had to high school students over the past 2 years, that the number of financial aid applications and processing have not come through. And so that supplemental funding may be dropping for some colleges, and wanted to kind of get an idea about what your feeling was for that. And all kind of related, the last is if there's anything we've been thinking about on how to support our colleges through getting our students caught up with the learning loss that may have occurred from their last year or 2 years of high school, coming into our colleges. To me, that's a big equity issue that I'm concerned about, that those who have been underserved were probably underserved more during the pandemic. And, AB 705 is going to be huge, but then how do we really realize the benefits of AB 705 when students have faced this learning loss? So it's going to take more resources to get them, I think, caught up and get above that. I think it was 78% pass rate in that first year, and get that up into the 85+% rate. So at least we're getting a B or B plus when we talk about our AB 705 implementation. So just wondering your thoughts on those 3 areas.
Yeah, thank you very much, Board Member Rawlings, for highlighting those 3 areas. I'll talk about cap outlay first. This will be an item for your November agenda. It's usually presented as one packet. A couple of things. One, we're waiting for some information that came a little bit later in the budget cycle this year. And second, we're also transitioning in some major updates and security upgrades as well, and reporting to Fusion, which will give us much better data on those facilities. And so look forward to that at your next board meeting. Around resources for colleges, we have various protections that have been put in place for colleges throughout this pandemic. The first, as you may know, is hold harmless for districts, and that was extended through 2025 for colleges. That is one piece. There also is a part of the student-centered funding formula statute that went into effect in 2021 that actually provides stabilization similar to the stability that was provided under the old formula of SB 361 that essentially looks at your prior year funding and ensures that there aren't major year-to-year losses. So that's the second one. And then the third are the emergency condition allowances, which were extended for this year as well. Those go into a district's 3-year average. And so because those other two buckets really are prior year data, those are all pieces that colleges should not be seeing major effects in. We also want to make sure that continued focus remains on enrollment and connecting students to the aid that they need. So that will continue to be a priority. And then the third that you mentioned was, now I'm blanking on the third one, I apologize.
Support for addressing learning loss.
Yes, thank you. Apologies for that. So, or supports and learning loss, a lot of the themes that you see in this system request are also in the context that our efforts are to support colleges through various pieces, such as professional development, various tools that are put in place. When we mentioned that we need to continue our work around AB 705 and possibly needing even 2 positions to continue that work, that really is at the heart of it, as well as some of the distance and technology pieces that are put in place that enable colleges to offer tutoring, among other things, in various and more flexible formats.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Vice Chancellor Navarrete, thanks. I appreciate the budget overview. Quick question: as I listened to what you were covering, I didn't hear anything about incremental dollars for learning disabilities. And I work, because I'm dyslexic, with a number of the NGOs that specialize in this area. And I know that over the last 2 years of COVID, those folks that do have learning disabilities across the board, every single group out there, have really struggled. And so is there incremental dollars? And if not, what is our budget for learning disabilities? And I think it should be a top priority. I know I'm going to go ahead and fight for it. And, I know that every budget item that you addressed today is very, very important. But when we look at people dropping out of community colleges, I know through my own struggles that one of the issues that, exacerbates it is learning disabilities. And I think we have to be much more aggressive in addressing that problem.
Thank you. And thank you for your efforts in that area. And similarly, we were disheartened to see that programs such as DSPS did not receive resources or the same level of cost adjustments as others did. And so that's one component, right, is trying to get additional resources for them. The other, when you see our efforts around Section 508 and AB 434 capacity, it really is to build this multi-tier strategy and support those that may have learning needs and learning disabilities, but may not necessarily identify within DSPS or have sought out resources through that avenue. And then the third is really in the area of overall institutional capacity. We think that it's important to continue to provide resources to colleges so that they can keep pace with these new demands. So where you see a 5% increase, and we can target that as an area, but at the end of the day, local implementation really is going to matter. And we want to provide resources so that colleges implement those needs consistent with their students' requirements locally.
Okay.
So thank you. Member Shabazian.
Thank you. Thanks for the responses to Board Member Rawlings' 3 points. And if there's any more that we could add to our request to further address those 3 issues, I'd certainly support that. On the legislative component of this, I was glad to hear that that part's not set in concrete. And I'd like to comment on 2 aspects of that. One is on the textbook cost. In the parent, so I'm looking at the document that was posted on our website about this platform, has a little bit more details. But on the textbook affordability, to me, it seems like the primary way to address textbook affordability is through open educational resources, OER, and ZTC. And so I'd ask if we could add a phrase, maybe just to the end of that paragraph, specifically, I think it mentions, especially in general education courses, and add the phrase, and with open educational resources. I'd encourage us to think through as we flesh this part out. I'd encourage us to think through what if there's a financial ask to this, what ultimately happens to that money? Like, where does it go? And then how does that affect the long-term sustainability of the ZTC for students? So with open educational resources, the resources become openly licensed, which means that essentially these resources are now free in perpetuity for students, regardless of whether funding goes away in a couple of years or anything like that. It also gives faculty the opportunity to update these materials as industry changes, as our general situation changes. Faculty can update these resources without violating copyright laws. So having openly licensed resources helps the long-term sustainability of affordability for students. So I'd encourage incorporating that concept into the legislative request. And then the second topic wasn't on the slide, but in the document, there was a paragraph about guaranteed access to transfer. And that is a very high priority. And I'm glad to see that was in there. One of the key issues that people are saying that we have is a capacity issue, the capacity for the universities to take our transfer students. We have students who have everything they need to be able to transfer. They might have an ADT or maybe multiple ADTs and just can't get into a university that's reasonable for them. And so something needs to be done to improve that. And I'd like to ask if we can continue to flesh out and elaborate on what we can do to address that capacity issue in the university systems. And then with AB 928, my understanding is that virtually every group in the community college system has opposed that. And I don't know if it'll get signed, but assuming it does, I'd like to see us examine the implications of that and the implementation of that to make sure that we've worked through any kind of unintended consequences that might come up, and then come back to us and the legislature to refine it. Thank you.
So I just want to take a moment. We have another 3 or 4 hands up, and it is 3:31. And I just want to make certain that we do not shortchange our Vision for Success presentation. And with that, I am going to call on Board Member Williams, and then Board Member Costa, Board Member Carrillo, and also Board Member Silva. Now, y'all have to remember your sequence part of this, please. And then let me also say that I know that that Jennifer wanted to be part of this, and I think she's jumped off. And if she comes back in, I think she has a time constraint. So if we can start in that order.
Thank you, President Haynes, and thank you for the presentation. It's been an educational process for me, just being involved in the process. And the team has just been great, and all of the stakeholders from the students. And I'm specifically talking about the textbook initiative. And I'm asking for folks to really think about, like, when you see the slide that Dr. Navarrete showed about our capacity, if you think about negotiating the cost of textbooks as a state and think about our purchasing power of 2 million students and how we can better negotiate that cost as a state instead of district by district, and ways that we can pass those savings along to districts. And, you know, the whole idea is how do we get books to come with the classroom? And member Roy, I can't see where you're at. The thought was the zero cost textbooks is the long term where we want to go. But what can we do for students today with the existing resources and with the existing textbooks? A lot of these publishers are coming out with subscription services. My district specifically has negotiated with the publishers for 2 years to be able to provide books and materials for their students for 2 years. And we're trying to figure out long-term sustainable ways to keep that going. And so, you know, we're just hoping that there will be support for this kind of thinking, and really, again, as a state, how can we lower the cost of textbooks? So again, students can get better pricing. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask that's related but separate, is it possible that the board can have, you know, a conversation where we can talk about the art of the possible around generating new revenue for the system outside of just the regular budget requests? You know, in other states, they talk about public enterprise models where the institutions are generating revenue. Is there a way that we can design this textbook situation where maybe as a state, we sell the books to other states? You know, California leads, but we keep talking about how we don't have enough staff in the district or in the chancellor's office. Is it part of the board's responsibility and or to push and to press for us to have conversations about new revenues, not just the traditional revenues? Can we generate other unrestricted revenue to help with the staffing? And so we're not in a place where we're always having to ask, like, how do we put ourselves in the driver's seat with that respect to the conversation? So I just wanted to add that and give appreciation to the students and all of the faculty and all of the folks who have been involved with the textbook conversation. Thank you.
Wouldn't be a budget if I didn't want to talk about it. I want to start by thanking the staff, because I know it's a lot of work that coincides with a really busy part of the legislative session in which you do this budget and legislative work. So thank you. I know it's especially probably hectic this year in light of the pandemic and the budget bill and associated trailer bills going on and on and on. So thank you. One, I just wanted to, I'm so happy to see the housing money included in the system budget request. And, you know, both our president and Daisy, our acting chancellor, you know, mentioned the work ahead of us on the money that we just received in housing. And as you guys know, the bill does actually specify a role for the Board of Governors as well as the Office of the Chancellor and oversight of those projects. And so I'm looking forward to the statewide committee that was announced during the acting chancellor's report. And I'm hoping that many of my colleagues will participate in it because, you know, I think it's transformative and the value that it can provide to our students. And, you know, we have a real opportunity here to create this new program and build upon it, hopefully with this budget request. So I want to thank both of them for those comments. I think by my rough calculation, absent the staffing request, the total request is about $1.22 billion. And I don't want to boil the ocean, but I do want to kind of braid together the themes that I think board members Shabazian, Anderson, and Rawlings have brought up, which is I'm concerned that the enrollment funding is so de minimis in that total amount that, you know, it's 20.3. And I think they've highlighted some other areas that are clearly going to be needed as we bring students back. And I have to say, and maybe I've missed it, I'm still very unclear on what we think the core issue is in our enrollment, because I think that data would inform some of these investments. You know, to Darius's point, if we know, for example, that our students that have learning differences dropped out at a disproportionate amount, then we would know to put our resources there. If we knew maybe our faculty needed additional professional development because, to Bill's point, maybe there's some remediation required or additional supports regarding instruction. And so for me, that point is just really missing, because when I look across the many needs of our system, and they are many, That's number one to me, because we can't affect equity, we can't affect progress if we don't have them in the system. And so, to me, I feel like that part needs to be a little bit more robust. And I wouldn't say we need to be prescriptive with the districts, but I do think that we're lacking data to know where to direct these resources to help ensure we get our students back.
Thank you for that. There wasn't a question. Well, there's lots of questions in the statement. Let me just say that piece. I'm not certain if Vice Chancellor Navarrete wants to respond.
Yeah, happy to share a couple of comments. I think enrollment continues to be a theme, but one of the pieces that we continue to identify through various means is that poverty continues to be a major driver of enrollment and the choices that some of our most affected populations are making. And so we put a lot of emphasis in the needs of affordability, in the needs of connecting students to the aid that they might need, but also in the capacity for colleges to adapt their programs locally to meet that demand that students have, be it students with learning disabilities, working learners, adults that stopped out. And so I'm happy to strengthen some of that language in there, but again, one of the overarching things that we're seeing is that poverty continues to be a key driver. Definitely would agree that more research and data is needed on this piece. We'd be the first to say that our capacity for research to really delve into this is very limited. And so when you see us ask for robust areas, and this is because we want to get at the root of the problem, be able to share it with you, be able to share it with our districts and system partners so that we can collectively begin designing a strategy against this, especially as we see demographics working against us, where we may continue to lose more students.
President Haynes, I know we're on a tight clock, but just really quick. So, my concern is we're just putting in money to outreach and we're not addressing those core issues. We're not really helping the students. Just telling them, hey, come back, but they need childcare or whatever the issue is not helpful. I'm not comfortable saying let's put out $20 million if we don't know. This isn't an advertising or marketing issue. In my opinion, we have, to your point, some core issues that are been exacerbated pandemic. And then just one question is, can you give the dollar amount of the staffing request? I didn't see that. I saw that there's 22 positions, but for the chancellor's office capacity, what's the dollar amount associated?
The dollar amount is just under 2 million. But let me calculate that for you and get that over. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I think it's Carrillo next.
Okay, I think so. Yeah, I wanted to
help me out here.
It's late. It's later over here where I'm at. So I think that's right. I just wanted to also commend you for the work that you did this past budget. It's great to be thinking about the future and next year's budget, but also I know you already were commended, but I also wanted to add my thanks for the work you did. Was that on securing some of that funding around housing? I think that's such an important effort, and I'm glad that we included in the budget request for next year. A couple of questions I had. There's this 91 million for the DEI work that includes some of the ongoing money. I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about what that, I guess like 40 million or so is for new efforts. I was interested in that. I'm glad to see that the AB 540 kind of anniversary and thinking about kind of the next phase of that, of the work around equity for undocumented students is on the legislative agenda. I was waiting to see where that was in the presentation, so it's good to see that. I would also just flag that, you know, there's ongoing kind of work that I think might need to be done in the coming months around new immigrant populations who are coming to our country. In particular, I'm kind of knee deep or head deep in working with in my new role and my day job on the evacuation of Afghanistan, of refugees from Afghanistan who have, you know, served our country. And I would say that a number of those people are going to end up on our in California, given the population and the diaspora communities in Sacramento and other parts of the state. So I would just say that it'd be good for you all to be keeping an eye on that. It's still very much a process in motion, but there will be a number of people who will maybe not be in the AB 540 students population kind of category. They will have some support and some services that are provided to them, but they are likely going to need a lot of help in getting through their transition stateside. So I just wanted to flag that for you as something that is something for us to be watching. But yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the DEI money and what you all want to, how you all want to use that. And if anything you know about kind of the legislative direction people might want to be taking related to undocumented students, I'd be interested in. It may not be known at this point, but if there's anything you all have been hearing, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, happy to talk about that. And then I'll ask my colleague, Vice Chancellor David O'Brien, to talk a little bit about AB 540 efforts. There is some momentum about various areas. So around the DEI strategy, our request continues to seek resources to implement the 68 strategies that were identified in the DEI work group and the DEI task force. So far, some of those investments have been funded, but not all. They just have a more collective strategy around how we both deal with cultural competency support, new students and communities in advancing DEI efforts locally, and training and professional development in this space, and various implementation pieces of regulations. And then there is some work and alignment to ethnic studies as will happen as part of the new regulations approved by the board just this year. So those are some of the areas that you see included.
Thank you. And Board Member Carrillo, happy to respond on the AB 540 piece. I don't want to overstate it because there's still some research that's going on our end to determine whether there's a need for legislation, if so, what it will be. But as you're all too aware, AB 540 applied to undocumented residents who meet specific criteria. And over the years, we've heard largely anecdotally from our system and other stakeholders that there are undocumented residents to whom those criteria don't apply, who are missing out on that exemption. And so if it's possible to identify, you know, a way to craft a statute to include more students in the AB 540 exemption from non-resident tuition, we'd like to do so, as well as we have heard, again, largely anecdotally, so I don't want to overstate it here in a public forum, but we have heard that there may be some discrepancies with how a follow-up bill to AB 540, Senate Bill 68 of 2017, if I'm remembering correctly, is being applied in terms of the credits it grants students for their prior education, which is how they qualify for the AB 540 exemption. So again, provided that we can have a better understanding of the data and the problem, we would be, you know, more than happy to pursue legislation that allows us to further break down some of those barriers. And if I could, I just want to briefly mention in response to something else you mentioned, Board Member Carrillo, regarding refugees. We were fortunate to recently have been connected with a national nonprofit organization that connects college campuses who are interested in supporting refugees in their communities. So we were pleased to be able to make that connection for a lot of our colleges, and would encourage any of our local college or district leaders that are tuning in to please reach out to the Chancellor's office if you're interested in learning more about those opportunities, because we do have a connection and an opportunity. We know that many of our college leaders want to help and want to be a part of this.
Great, thanks. Thank you all.
So we are quickly running out of time, but I'm going to take the last two questioners here so that we don't give San Bernardino a shift. And I'd like to, what I'm going to do is to move our state and federal update till tomorrow, just so that we stay as close to our end time as we possibly can. So with that, Member Terasova and then Member Epstein.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I would like to start my comment off on how much I appreciate the 22-23 system budget proposal guiding principle, which was focused on putting students first. And I would like to thank Lizette and the whole Chancellor's team for providing such a robust, student-focused document for our review. There are so many great requests for investments from the students' perspective, but I'll try to keep my comments and questions as short as possible. I was really excited to see the request for further advancement in areas such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, for further support of faculty, and significant investments in student equitable recovery, particularly textbook affordability, as Member Williams and myself were advocating for as the day one on the board. So I greatly appreciate the inclusion of it in this budget, as together with Board Member Williams, we have had numerous meetings together with various stakeholders around the state and out of state institutions that are championing these efforts in order to see what we can do today for students, as well as in the long-term solution. My first question will be that there are a lot of great investments in student support programs that focus on Black student success and foster youth, or the Next Up program. And I was surprised to see the increase of only 3% ongoing requests for DSPS. My question is whether there is specific reasoning to why it is only 3% increase, considering the ever increasing demand for those services during not only the pandemic, but as the college students learn about their needs, such as various learning disabilities and other support programs that can help them throughout their educational journey. Whether it was that was the amount that was requested by the respective group. And the second part of the comment, I'll continue on after my question is answered, if possible.
Yeah, so one of the areas of DSPS, we actually didn't receive a formal request from them, but why we identified the 3% is wanting to bring them up to the increase that various other categoricals had received. And then from our perspective, we believe it's a district responsibility as they get new resources. Things like accessible documents, accessible materials shouldn't just be a one categorical strategy. They should be something available campus-wide that is implemented holistically on a campus. So we hope that part of the implementation that is supported with these resources, that they take a more holistic approach to supporting their students with learning disabilities. But happy to continue to build that in as we move in future advocacy.
For sure. Thank you, Lizette. And to my second part of my comment, to ensure recovery with equity, I would like to bring your attention to a student need that was not necessarily highlighted in this budget presentation, but creeped up on the shoulders of students without proper acknowledgement due to the pandemic. Investment in the distance education and technology costs mostly focused on the successful delivery of the services, rather than investing money in students' accessibility to low-cost internet. This past year, constant issues with the internet connection undermined student participation in online classrooms, effective learning, and successful completion of the examinations without interruptions, which are essential activities for student success progress. We have seen the decrease in student populations in a lot of rural areas across the state, and the important contributing factor to this outcome was the connection to the internet service provider. From my conversations with various students, it directly affected their participation in the class, which often resulted in the need to drive to either the closest fast food chain restaurant or local library parking lot, just so they would be able to take their exam or listen to the Zoom lecture. Also, we're working on attracting more adult learners. We need to be more mindful that their top choice most likely will be online courses, as they will work hard to juggle family, work, and college at the same time. Moreover, today at the Fulbright trustee meeting, we were presented with a report from the California Competes findings that 3.9 million students specified particular interest in taking only online courses. Therefore, stable and affordable internet access is an essential tool to the current and future community college students as much as the textbook is. So I would like to ask if there's any opportunity to add it to the proposal.
Thank you very much. Completely agree that access to technology has been an area that both has either helped or hindered the response during this pandemic. And so happy to integrate elements into the technology request. I will add that overall broadband access and a comprehensive California strategy will be a topic of conversation. A group that the California Community Colleges partners with for our data infrastructure, CNIC, has been included as part of the Budget Act that just passed to help think through broadband access in more rural areas. So we do have representatives that work very closely on that board, and we'll continue to ensure that we are part and parcel of that solution. So happy to do that, and we'll integrate more intentionally that language.
Thank you.
President?
Yes.
President Haynes, it would be appropriate for me to just briefly note one thing in response to Board Member Tarasova.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I just want to note, thank you very much, Board Member, for bringing up the concern about broadband access and access to technology. In the state and federal update, which we'll be taking up tomorrow, the board will have an opportunity to vote to support a resolution declaring the board support for President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, which includes, I believe the number is $65 billion for expansion of broadband access nationwide. And so in addition to state efforts, which are critical, we also do have an opportunity to mobilize our entire system, as the acting chancellor noted in her chancellor's update, and the entire state of California behind robust federal support for this as well. So thank you for always, reminding us of the importance of this issue.
Thank you for those responses. Member Epstein, I think you're the last speaker.
Yeah. Thanks. And I purposely waited to see what everybody else would say, so I can just add an exclamation point to a couple of things that were said. I was a little surprised that there was no direct acknowledgement of COVID in this budget. No direct requests for money for dealing with COVID issues on the campuses, and with just a paltry amount of money, $5 million a year for distance education. So my first point is about that. What is it, because money is coming from the federal government? I mean, I guess why wouldn't we have sought money to help the colleges deal with all the additional expenses that came from COVID?
Thank you. That's an excellent question, and I'm glad you noticed that. And so one of the reasons for that is that some of these components of the district's work is not necessarily going to go back to what the conditions that existed prior to March of 2020. So including technology needs and the capacity for various programs on a campus. And so we really wanted to build it as part of the new normal for colleges' work. And so part of the reason why we're asking for, again, a 5% increase for colleges and districts to support their efforts. The other is the need for modernization and technology. The $5 million is specifically just for distance learning pieces. The 75 and broader $100 million is really for the overall kind of holistic implementation of technology platforms. And then the other piece related to the COVID response, several of our colleges are still working through spending down HERF 1, 2, and 3. And so we really felt that it was important to show that those dollars have been fully expended. And we know that's not quite the case at all campuses right now.
Yeah, I guess I understand that. That's what I thought was probably going on. But the $5 million of distance education seems really, really low compared to what we're asking for a whole lot of other things. And that's something I think you might want to reconsider. The other issue is I completely agreed with everything Vice President Costa said about enrollment. You know, I don't think a marketing campaign really does the trick. I know that, you know, we're trying to do all the student support stuff as well, but it seems to me like we lost a lot of students who had been previously enrolled, and I would think that some kind of direct outreach to them and find out why they dropped out. You know, that requires, you know, kind of boots on the ground or calls made. And I just haven't seen, you know, I guess that as a priority. I think counseling is probably, you know, a key part of that as well. So and also, of course, the focus on retention, which I think the basic needs stuff that does address. And the other thing I just have to point out is that, you know, we keep saying our enrollment's 2.1 million, and it's not. And I think it's time to acknowledge that, be transparent, and put up a number that comports with where we really are.
Thank you.
So can I just want to respond, and then Member Perry, I see that you've come back to join us, so I'm going to allow you to have the last question. Let me just say from the perspective, I'll put my trustee hat on, relative to COVID, there's a lot of money on our campuses, to be really candid. Now, there may be some exceptions relative to the fires and how that's impacted the regions and our campuses, but so, and to the extent that we are doing encouragements using money to get folks vaccinated. In other words, if a student goes and gets their first vaccination, there's a dollar amount that they will get as a result of that, so we can bring them back. There's a dollar amount for, in many cases, or folks are being incentivized, or students are being incentivized on the second COVID shot. Let me also say that your sense of enrollment is absolutely right, but I can emphatically, I serve on not only on the Los Rios board, but also on the CCCT board, which is the trustee board under the league. And there is indeed outreach, both of staff and faculty who have been picking up the phone, emailing, texting, all over the place, 24-hour call centers, and asking that question about, we see that you were enrolled last semester. We want you to come back. What are the obstacles in your situation? Can we help with them? Do you know that there is financial aid? That is happening in many districts across the state. Sometimes it doesn't rise to the level of it's noticed by media, but this is indeed happening. Now, I would agree that maybe it's not happening enough, but there have been a number of outreaches from districts imploring students to come back, figuring out what the challenges are, to the extent of really getting out there and doing this work. Obviously, we need to do a lot more. But at the core of this, I just want to reiterate what has been said. Our students are challenged by poverty. Our students are challenged because they have families, and they have got to balance this piece of an education, which they indeed want, with the challenges of housing. Glad we've got some money. Financial aid. I'm glad we're trying to reform that, but these are their realities, and so they're continuing trying to figure out, can I go this semester, or do I have to make up for lost time relative to income? And so it's just a real challenging situation. And so what you've asked for, Member Epstein, Tom, is something that we absolutely have to do, but I want you to know that our campuses are not twiddling their thumbs. during this time. They are going out and they're trying to really ensure that our students know that they are welcomed, and then making it as easy as they can to re-enroll.
That's great to hear, and I'm really glad that you said that. Yeah, it just seems to me like in the budget, it's not really called out as an activity. I don't think the Chancellor's Office has done a webinar on it, and it just seems like that's something that really does. I'm glad to hear that a lot of
There's a lot going on our campuses. We need to probably raise that up a little bit more, but indeed it is happening. And then I'm going to call on Member Perry.
Thank you, President Haynes. Apologies if I'm a little bit redundant since I missed the last half an hour. Not a good half an hour to miss. I also wanted to underscore one of the things that Member Epstein said about the monies for distance learning. It's so much has changed. There's so many hybrid models, so many models to be explored, and we're kind of rebuilding a bit across all these platforms. I would like to, if we can, to really look at that and see whether there's some more support we can put behind it, because again, the landscape is so profoundly changed and will continue to be so. And I want us to be ready as we can to meet the needs of our youth at that level. And I just want to say thank you also for the Next Up request, because that's a program that is proven to work. I think one of it is 69% of foster youth in the program re-enroll semester over semester, as opposed to 49% that don't. I mean, it's successful across the board. So I appreciate that. And also very excited to have a former foster youth join our Board of Governors, who will be a far better advocate than I. So I look at how to put more wind in his sails. Is that the expression that I want? So excited about that. And finally, I just want to thank President Haynes and Acting Chancellor Gonzalez for their leadership on this housing issue. It's not the biggest thing that's happened to the colleges since I've been on the board, but it's up there. And the opportunity to address this fundamental equity issue in terms of leveling the playing field of affordability, taking one of the biggest chunks that prevents our students from, enrolling and staying enrolled in the community colleges, it's huge. So I am really excited about it. Thank you for your leadership. I want to point out, I think I have to in other ways, President Haynes, that the foundation, the Community Colleges Foundation, has done some really great groundwork on this in terms of doing a feasibility map, looking at which colleges, where they are stage-wise and what the opportunities are. And I know they stand ready to support this effort in any way, shape, or form, because it's going to take every brain, every mind we have, because it's relatively new, as you pointed out, but it's really big. So thank you, President Haynes, for including this in your opening, and Acting Chancellor Gonzalez for looking ahead and setting up a committee that will help move this really exciting and important initiative forward. So much appreciated.
Thank you for those comments. We're now going to open this up for public comment. Is there any?
The public comment period for item 4.6 is now open. Please use the raise hand feature to make a comment to the board. If you're calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's Office will call on you and allow you to speak. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. We did not receive any written comments on this item, so I'll hand it over to my colleague Gary for hands raised.
We do have several hands raised. We'll start with Jeffrey Baum. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
President Haynes, Vice President Costa, members of the board, it is a pleasure to speak to you. My name is Jeffrey Baum. I am a former trustee for the Pasadena Area Community College District and a former member of the Community College Board of Governors. I currently am the executive director of Michelson Philanthropies in the Michelson Center for Public Policy. We're a philanthropic foundation that focused on and devoted to college equity and access and affordability. I want to praise as enthusiastically as I can the leadership of this board and the staff for this budget, this proposal. Specifically, as any of those who served with me will recall, my commitment to expanding the capacity of the system to meet the needs and fulfill the obligation. I will call on this board to get, when I was on this board, adopted regulations with respect to instructional materials. And we adopted a policy that directs districts and instructors to take reasonable steps to minimize the cost and ensure the necessity of instructional materials, and then to report to the chancellor's office. Yet the chancellor's office has never had the ability or the capacity to fully enforce this and reduce this cost burden. So with the leadership of members like Member Williams, Member Tarasova, and others, we've brought that textbook affordability and instruction affordability issue to the forefront, to the point that Governor Newsom has now allocated $115 million to the system to create zero textbook cost degree pathways. And I was encouraged by Member Shabazian's focus on this and the importance of fixing this problem forever for our students. So we stand with you, are eager to support your efforts. We'll support the ability for the system to have the capacity to do this in the same way that we adopted the associate degrees for transfer, and at every college and in every major, we identified associate degree path for transfer pathways. We want to also help the system identify pathways where there are zero textbook costs for students to progress and at least solve that one piece of the affordability issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rebecca Newman. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Yeah, hi board. I am a parent of 2 community college students, one of which is a dual enrolled student. Both of my students have learning disabilities. One of them ideally should be on campus. With the decision of the individual districts to push a vaccine mandate, my students can no longer attend campus. That means that they no longer have access to the test rooms for additional test time and quiet test taking. They can no longer access campus to get their textbooks digitized. They don't feel welcome anymore. They aren't 4.5 GPA kids. They couldn't get straight into a Cal State. Their plan was to do their associates and to transfer. But we don't know if they can do that anymore. I don't even know if they have enough classes to be able to take with Zoom instruction next semester to stay enrolled. They feel like second-class citizens. You've been talking about why enrollment is down. I know many people who dropped out when vaccination policies were notified 10 days before class started. You have EMTs in the middle of training who are going to get kicked out next month. They can't complete their training because staff were given the opportunity to know that these mandates were coming well into the summer when students weren't given that opportunity. Enrollment started back in April and May. Students can't just find another class. You have insufficient Zoom classes. We're at a large community college and you have 0 history classes with a Zoom, none. My son wants to be a history major. So he's just meant to read the text and have the occasional interaction with the professor once a week. I don't think that's sufficient. You have 0 classes, speech and communication classes. It's part of the IGETC. The only Zoom portion is for grading. How are the students meant to understand how to do proper public speaking if they can't actually see it? If you really want to pick up your enrollment, you need to fix it for everybody. The focus is on the lowest income students, and I'm not saying that they aren't important, but you have a bunch of middle income families whose kids are in community college so that they can transfer.
30 seconds.
And they may actually be the ones most likely to be opposing the vaccine mandates. You were the last ones to ever implement a vaccine mandate. You've never had one before at any community college, and you've implemented it extremely poorly and in a discriminatory fashion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Larry Galizio. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you, President Haynes,
Vice President Acosta, members of the board, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez, Larry Glizio, Community College League. Before I go to the item, I first want to thank General Counsel Mark LaForestier and recognize his willingness to meet with the trustee board to talk about all of the issues surrounding vaccination and all of the critical issues to keep students, faculty, staff, and everyone safe. So I wanted to thank him for that. I also wanted to congratulate the new Board of Governors members and want to say a special thank you and congratulations to member Josh Eliasando, who served as the student trustee on the trustee board. So you'll find him a fantastic colleague. And then finally, before I get to the points on the shared budget, I want to thank the Board of Governors for your advocacy in the most recently passed budget and the administration for the budget, and with particular gratitude, of course, to Lieutenant Governor Koulounakis. We still have a long way to go, but the executive branch and the Board of Governors has done important work. So just in this budget going forward, if you talk to the districts, the number one priority remains base funding. The most recent budget was a helpful down payment toward more equitable funding for our system. However, decades of underinvestment necessitates an increase in base funding. Our per student funding compared to our colleagues in higher ed and K-12 is simply unacceptable and unsustainable. Second, pension relief. Some of our districts, in less than 10 years, their pension obligation cost has tripled. There's also an opportunity cost to that. The money that you have to spend for pension obligations is money that you can't spend to invest in students, professional development, and all the important work. So some kind of pension relief is absolutely essential. We also strongly support the DEI elements. And then finally, as has been mentioned several times, technology has become more and more important. And it's not just cybercrime and broadband, it's a whole panoply of issues. So we really need a substantial investment. Districts and colleges basically have two colleges now. They're running the on-ground college and then the virtual college. So we applaud that kind of investment and thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Wendy Brill Winecoop. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Haynes, Vice President Costa, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez, and members of the Board of Governors. I'm Wendy Brill Winecoop, President of the Faculty Association of the California Community Colleges. FAC was grateful to be included in the consultation process for the budget and legislative requests, which included the perspective of members of the Consultation Council. We believe the practitioner perspective in governance and policymaking should have increased value during our expertise and experience. Specifically, FAC appreciates the inclusion of the Council of Faculty Organizations proposed budget requests, $100 million for full-time faculty and $300 million for part-time faculty parity. This investment would allow our colleges to hire and support the best and most diverse faculty in the state to serve our students. We look forward to partnering in advocacy with the Chancellor's Office and stakeholders in supporting these priorities, including modernizing and sensitive data protection, addressing student basic needs, college affordability, and other critical investments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gerardo Chavez. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Good afternoon, President Haynes, VP Acosta, Acting Chancellor Gonzalez, and Board of Governors members. My name is Gerardo Chavez. I am the President of the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. And the SSCCC did participate in the process of the legislative and budget proposals. And I just wanted to highlight a few of the proposals that will increase support for our students, specifically expanding the Next Step program for our foster care students. It's very important that we are reaching out to our students with support and that we're expanding those resources so we are able to improve their academic experience and improve their academic success. So I would like to urge the Board of Governors to keep in mind that the investments that we're making to our students to increase their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerardo. I think that was our last public comment. And if that is indeed the case.
Madam President, can
yes.
I ask clarifying, like a point of order?
Sure.
Which is, we had a lot of comments from the board, including in some cases requests for additional dollars in certain buckets. And so I just want to be really clear on, you know,
process.
If the document is changing and in what way, so it's just very clear what we're voting on.
So Vice Chancellor Navarrete, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned in the timeline, the Board of the Chancellor's Office, on behalf of the Board of Governors, will submit a budget change proposal to the Department of Finance by the end of this month. So what we will do is take some of these comments, areas where we can strengthen in making the case for investments, and include that in our request. What I've gathered here is more kind of highlighting where the retention dollars are not just a marketing campaign, but they're really a retention strategy, increasing resources for distance education, and explaining how that connects to broader efforts of our college's new normal, including telling the story of what colleges are already doing around retention and enrollment, and then building some pieces around how resources that are going to colleges would support learning disabilities, some considerations around OER and flexibility of the various strategies that we need for textbook affordability. And then in the areas of our legislative strategy, we have a little bit more time, but we've noted that we'll come back and continue to keep you abreast of transfer strategy and how we are elevating that as the 22 budget cycle or legislative cycle kicks in. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Vice President Costa?
I think so. I mean, do you envision any dollar amounts changing, Vice Chancellor Navarrete?
Yeah, we'll revisit the distance ed piece, which was highlighted as a very narrow focused 5 million with a very specific price tag, but we can look at that more expansively.
Okay, I don't see any other questions coming up. This is an action item. So I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Epstein moves. Can I get a second on that?
Second, plus.
Member Villalobos seconds. Would you please call the roll?
Hildegard Aguinaldo.
What are we voting on exactly?
You're voting on a recommendation to move the budget and legislative request for 2022-23, which requires an action. So that's what the vote's for.
Thank you. With that, I will resume with roll call. Hildegard Aguinaldo.
Aye.
Darius Anderson. Amy Costa.
Aye.
Tom Epstein.
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo.
Aye.
Jolina Grande.
Aye.
Pamela Haynes.
Aye.
Kevin Hall.
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis.
Aye.
Irma Olguin Jr.
Aye.
Jennifer Perry.
Aye.
Bill Rawlings.
Aye.
Roy Shabazian.
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova.
Aye.
Blas Villalobos.
Aye.
Joseph Williams.
Aye.
And one more time, if possible, Darius Anderson. With that, President Haynes, the motion carries.
Thank you. We're going to move 4.7 to tomorrow's agenda. So we're going to go right into 4.8, which is the Vision for Success Spotlight. The spotlight is on San Bernardino Community College District, and we will have Executive Vice Chancellor Alvarado present on this item. I will allow her the privilege and honor of introducing her co-presenters.
Thank you so much, President Haynes. Good afternoon, President Haynes, Vice President Costa, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez. I want to take a minute to just frame up this item because it is an action item for this board. If you'll recall, most of you likely will, September is typically the time when this board is at a location, one of our campuses, enjoying the vibrant on-campus community. This year, we were meant to be in San Bernardino and have been looking forward to that trip, but unfortunately, we are still virtual. So we will be joining San Bernardino virtually, or we will be touring San Bernardino virtually, I should say, and very excited to have our San Bernardino colleagues with us, who I'll introduce in just a moment. The action item before you that we will circle back to at the end of this item, or at the end of the presentation, excuse me, is to it's a recommendation to this board around moving the campus site visit to a date in 2022. That's coordinated by the district and the chancellor's office and in accordance with our Bagley-Keene meeting requirements. And so we are looking forward to hearing from our colleagues in San Bernardino, while also looking forward to hopefully a recommendation passing for this board, an action from this board to visit that campus at a later date next year in person. So with that, I would love to introduce my presenters, our presenters this afternoon, who are going to be sharing a bit about the San Bernardino Community College District, their work to advance the vision for success, their focused efforts on equity and affordability, and their efforts around enrollment and how they are strengthening participation across their campus. I don't want to take away any of their thunder, so let me just leave it at that for a moment and pass it over. I'd love to introduce the full panel, and then I will pass it to the Chancellor. So we are joined this afternoon by Chancellor Diana Rodriguez, Crafton Hills College President Kevin Horan, Interim President of San Bernardino Valley College, Scott Thayer. And I'm very, very excited to introduce two of their student trustees, Lauren Ashlock and Elena Sanchez, who are joining us this afternoon. So with that, let me pass it to Chancellor Rodriguez.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Alvarado. I appreciate the introductions, and good afternoon. Good afternoon, Lieutenant Governor Houlakos, President Haynes, Vice President Costa, and Chancellor Gonzalez, and the distinguished Board of Governors. As introduced, I'm Diana Rodriguez, and the proud Chancellor of the San Bernardino Community College District. And I bring you greetings from our students, faculty, and staff who are right now on campus and online working extremely hard to serve our students. So before I go further, I'd like to take a moment to thank Board Member Torosawa, Board Member Aguinaldo, and Board Member Perry, and also Vice Chancellor O'Brien for visiting us virtually earlier this year. It's so good to see you again, and thank you for the opportunity. As introduced, I'm joined by my colleagues, Dr. Kevin Horan, who is the president of Crafton Hills College, and Dr. Scott Thayer, the interim president at San Bernardino Valley College. And I'm just very privileged to be working alongside of them. You know, I have to tell you, this is an exciting time in the life of our district here. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the chancellor, right? It really is. So let me share with you a quick video to give you a closer look at who we are. Don't you hate it when you have technical difficulties? Here we go. You know, serving our students is definitely a team effort, and we do it with the guidance and support of our distinguished Board of Trustees. Allow me to introduce them to you. We have our board chair, Dr. Ann Barisal, our vice chair, Dr. Stephanie Houston, our board clerk, Gloria Macias Harrison, Trustee John Longville, Trustee Frank Reyes, and one of your colleagues on the Board of Governors, Trustee Joseph Williams. Yeah. And today, I'm also joined by two fantastic student leaders, right? Student trustee Lauren Ashlock of Crafton Hills College and student trustee Elena Sanchez of San Bernardino Valley College. Our local community faces the challenges of a global pandemic. It seems just like a huge coincidence that both of our student trustees are pursuing careers in healthcare. So I would like to invite Lauren to introduce herself and share a few words. Lauren grew up in Loma Linda and just has a passion for giving back to her community. Lauren?
Thank you, Chancellor Rodriguez and Board of Governors. My name is Lauren Ashlock, and I am currently a student trustee in a second year at Crafton Hills College. I actually participated in Student Senate in high school, and after seeing that there was an opportunity to continue that kind of participation at Crafton, I decided to jump at the occasion, and it's been a really good experience so far. Once I graduate, I plan to go to Loma Linda University to complete their nursing program and eventually their physician's assistant program. I was actually motivated to become a PA when I was 17, and my dad had a small accident while we were on our boat, and it caused us to go to the emergency room with him. And there was a physician's assistant who actually helped him with some stitches. And I talked to her for a while, and I decided that I liked the flexibility and the ability to change throughout the career. That's kind of what led me to go down that path. And as a student trustee, my goal is to be an advocate for the students and their interests. And I also would like to contribute to the inclusive and inviting environment that already exists on Crafton Hills College campus. I look forward to the presentation, and I appreciate your invitation to introduce myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And now I'd like to invite Elena to introduce herself. As a young girl, Elena would accompany her mom to Mexico to help out with patients in that area. And I think that's where she developed her first interest in entering the healthcare. Elena?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elena Sanchez, and this is my second year at San Bernardino Valley College. I'm a student that cares for other students because I have difficulties like other students, such as being undocumented. I came here when I was 14 years old by myself with no parents. I'm also a first generation student, college student, and I'm a student that is struggling during this pandemic. So that's why I became a student trustee. And my goal for this year is to help other students to get through this pandemic by taking the best decisions for them, and that could help them to achieve their goals. And I want to help other students, not other people that are not enrolled, because I know that some people didn't get enrolled this year because they didn't have enough money or because they didn't know how to get enrolled this year. And thank you for inviting me to present, and because a lot of students don't have this opportunity. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Elena. Now you can see why I'm just so incredibly proud of our student trustees. Great stories. Thank you again. I regularly meet with Elena and Lauren on one-to-one, and I'm always so grateful for their perspectives, their advocacy, and truly their genuine care for our student body. When I meet with them and I walk our campuses, I see myself in our students, which helps me shape my philosophy about higher education and the need for this education in our communities. As some of you may know, I've called the Inland Empire home for more than 25 years. I grew up in Blythe, a small agricultural community near the Arizona border in Riverside County. And like many of our students, my parents didn't go to college, but they worked hard to give my siblings and me every opportunity that they didn't have growing up. I'm a second generation Mexican American, or some would say a 1.5 generation, but that's another story, right? I know what it's like to be a first generation college student. I know what it's like to juggle homework with family and work responsibilities. And I know many of you here experienced the same, and it wasn't always easy. But in it all, I'm a proud community college graduate, a proud transfer student from the California Community College system, and a double graduate from Cal State San Bernardino. And it's an honor to give back to my community as chancellor of the San Bernardino Community College District. I'm honored that the Board of Trustees trusted me to take on the role of chancellor. I've been in the role since August 1st, so only a couple of months. And we have been all hands on deck to ensure the well-being of our students, faculty, and staff, and as well as safety, returning to in-person learning and working. I recognize that I'm entering the role as chancellor when many of our families and students are doing their best to survive this pandemic, both economically and educationally. The pandemic forced too many of our students to pause their education. Some lost their jobs and others lost loved ones. The lucky ones were considered essential workers. They stocked grocery store shelves, delivered goods, and others responded to wildfires and 911 emergencies. I am so thankful to our students and our essential workers for keeping things going during the darkest hours of the pandemic. But the reality is that the pandemic is not over yet, right? This is a crucial time for our students, and there is so much that we need to do. Helping our students earn degrees, credentials, and achieve economic mobility is our #1 priority at the San Bernardino Community College District. Despite the pandemic, I'm proud to report that our district has taken bold actions to advance the vision for success. This February, both our colleges earned the highest level of accreditation. I am so incredibly proud of that. We're the only multi-campus district in California to have both campuses earn a full 7-year accreditation from the ACCJC. It's not just a stamp of approval, right? It's tangible proof that our district puts students front and center of everything we do. This year, we also launched the Books Plus program, which provides students access to free textbooks and course materials. We'll also share with you how we're closing equity gaps through our DEIA initiatives and how we're modernizing our colleges for today's and tomorrow's students. So Books Plus, as we think about our enrollment and our outreach strategies, we're mindful of our students' challenges. A recent study by the California Student Aid Commission tells us that 7 out of 10 students lost some or all of their income due to the pandemic. Research also shows that numerous students do not buy the required textbooks due to the expense. As a result, their academic performance suffers, and in some cases, denying them from graduating. So this fall semester, we launched a recruitment campaign called Books Plus. Essentially, this provides free rental access to textbooks, course materials, ebooks, and lab equipment for all students, regardless of their income level or part-time or full-time status. All students have to do is to register for courses this fall or next spring semester, and we will provide them with the books and the materials that they need to be successful in their courses. Now, to be fully transparent, right, we're using one-time federal relief dollars to provide free textbook rentals to our students. So Books Plus will be offered for a limited time. But the program is more than just free books. Okay? It's about sending a message to our community and to our students that this is the right time to continue their education, to come back to school. We've got their backs, and we're going to do everything we can do to help them be successful. So Books Plus is just one example of how we're reaching out to our students to increase enrollment. This fall, I'm personally hosting Cash for College workshops to let our community know that the college is within their reach and that financial aid is available. We're going to be working closely with our K-12 schools, community partners, and the California Student Aid Commission and state legislatures to reach as many students as possible. I'm kicking off our first Cash for College workshop next week, September 27th in the evening, with Senator Connie Leyva. And our next one will be on October 12th with Senator Ochoa Bogue. We'll be scheduling more workshops in the weeks ahead, especially since the FAFSA and the California DREAM Act application enrollment begins on October 1st. So when we think about student success, we also think about building a campus culture based on diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. In fact, that is the lens in which we look through all of our activities. So now I'd like to invite my colleagues, Dr. Horan and Dr. Thayer, to tell us more about some of these initiatives. Dr. Horan?
Thank you, Chancellor Rodriguez, and good afternoon, distinguished Board of Governors. At the center of our organizational culture is a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. It's embedded in our board policies, our resolutions, our equal employment opportunity plans, and our student equity plans. It's our leadership around DEIA that contributed to the full reaffirmation of our accreditation at both colleges. We are closing the gaps through our intentional implementation of AB 705 and guided pathways. The Public Policy Institute of California recently released a report that validated our student success metrics, and I'm pleased to announce specifically at Crafton Hills College that in transfer level English, our amazing faculty and staff have worked to eliminate disproportional impact for all African American and Latinx students, which we're extremely proud of them for. We try to embed our activities throughout the institution and not make it the responsibility of one department. At Crafton Hills College, we initiated a One Book, One College program that focused on issues of DEIA. Last year, we read the novel Spare Parts across the curriculum that focused on access to education and immigration issues. And this year, we're highlighting Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me as our reading for this year's One Book, One College program. If you'll bear with me, I want to read you one excerpt from what explains how this book is going to impact our college. The author writes, Americans have built on an empire the idea of race, a falsehood that damages us all, but falls mostly heavily on the bodies of Black women and men. bodies exploited through slavery and segregation, and today threatened, locked up, and murdered out of all proportion. What is it like to inhabit a Black body and find a way to live within it? And how can we all honestly reckon with this fraught history and free ourselves from its burden? It's this prompt that's going to guide our discussion across the curriculum this year at Crafton Hills College. And I would like to ask my colleague, Dr. Thayer, to talk about San Bernardino Valley College.
Thank you, Dr. Horan. Good afternoon, Board of Governors. We take diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism very seriously. That is why our district recently hired our diversity, equity, and inclusion position, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Asia Brown, to help us align and coordinate the efforts district-wide. So I think that was a critical move on our district's part to show the value and to really dive into these conversations. This person will work with faculty and staff to advance our DEIA initiatives, oversee our Title IX anti-discrimination law, cultural competency through professional development and hiring practices, as well as our equity initiatives. At our campuses, we've doubled our efforts to collaborate with community partners, to organize public programming, celebrations, and workshops to really highlight DEIA. Our programming includes issues around social justice, undocumented students, LGBTQI+ rights, anti-Asian, anti-Black hate discrimination, women's equity, and disparities in our communities. Some of the things that we've done at Valley College, historical and then some more recent things. We've had an arts lecture and diversity committee that has been tasked with bringing onto campus speakers, events, activities to keep our campus community informed. And that's been around for quite some time. We've created a student guide for Black and Latinx students specifically to help them navigate our education system here at Valley College. And then within the past year, our current chancellor, when she was president at Valley College, established the President's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Anti-Racism Committee, which put at the forefront an emphasis on this work as she led that effort. And we continue to have that committee work. And I want to outline just a few areas that some of the work that we're doing to really support the DEIA work is in our curriculum. We have made a commitment to review all of our curriculum with a culturally responsive pedagogy lens. So our faculty are working through the curriculum, looking at revising the student learning outcomes, looking at the assignments that students are completing based upon experiences that they're having. So making it an equitable process for students and letting them see themselves in the curriculum that's being taught. We have participated in professional development these past few years, teaching men and boys of color through San Diego State. We have those modules that we opened up for not just our faculty and staff on our campus, but our community partners to provide resources in this work to support the success of specifically of our Black male students, but all students in general. And then this past year, we participated in the USC Race and Equity Center's Community College Leadership Initiative that identified people on our campus to collect information, learn new things, and then bring them back to our campus to share out. And so we truly are in support of this work. And it is critically important to who we are as an institution and as a campus. And so, that is some of the work that we're doing here at Valley College, at Crafton Hills in our district around the DEIA work.
Thank you both for that, for just scratching the surface of all of the work that we're doing around DEIA. And so Dr. Thayer, I'd like, if you don't mind, starting the conversation about our future construction.
Yes, definitely. We'd really like to thank the Board of Governors, the Chancellor's Office, in our district for helping our colleagues update our facilities. You know, we know that in order to have state-of-the-art learning, we need to have state-of-the-art facilities. And through the commitment, through the state and the governor's office, you know, we would like to just thank the support. So as you know, this year, the governor and the legislature approved $37 million in Proposition 51 funds to build new workforce training center at San Bernardino Valley College and a performing arts education center at Crafton Hills College in Yucaipa. And so with that, we have a video to share of some of these exciting projects.
Thank you for that. Dr. Haran.
This state funding is going to enable Crafton Hills College to, as you just seen, little snippets of our 3D animation of our new Performing Arts Center, which is currently is a little over 43 years old on our campus. What makes this project unique, and I want to thank the Board of Governors for their leadership and the State Chancellor's Office for working with our district on a unique situation. We originally were going to modernize our Performing Arts Center, but after we started studying the building and the project and what it would take to bring it up to current building and construction codes, it became clear it was cost prohibitive to renovate and that we needed to build new. Now, in years past, this would mean that any state allocated funding would be bounced back to the general pot and redistributed throughout the state. But wisely, our amazing district capital projects team made a compelling presentation to the State Chancellor's Office and was supported by the Board of Governors to let us keep that state allocation and instead convert it into a new construction project, which will end up building a much more functional performing arts center for the college at a substantially lesser cost of construction. And so it is really being great stewards of public funds. It also enabled us to leverage our local Measure CC dollars and add a project onto our list around modernizing our solar farm, which will bring our campus to 100% net zero energy, which is amazing. And we wouldn't have been able to do without the support of letting us use the state dollars for the new Performing Arts Center. Dr. Thayer?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Haran. No, it's really exciting just to see the construction happening in our district. Our new applied tech building at Valley College, you know, really looking to be the hub of workforce training in the Inland Empire. And, you know, the new building will be sustainable, training students in a varied course areas, water management, automotive repair, heavy truck technology, machining, heating, air conditioning, and many other fields. But this will be a must-see, if you will, to attract all of the students in the area, and having these type of facilities. As you saw in the video, just the image of what it could be really excites us as we see how we can meet the needs of our employers and our students, and partnering together to really create a pathway for those students in the career technical education field to find a passion, and then really allow them to learn on the best equipment with the best faculty members, and then apply that in the field. Is just really an exciting time for us. The existing building is one of our oldest buildings on campus. And so to see what it can be and what it will be soon is truly exciting for us here at Valley College.
Thank you both, Dr. Haran and Dr. Thayer. See, I told you it was an exciting time to be within our district. Okay. So looking ahead, right? I'm a true believer that the Inland Empire is critical to California's future, right? Our true potential lies in our people, particularly our students, who are going to be our next generation of leaders, right? As we look ahead at our next 3 to 5 years, there are 4 areas that we will focus on to take our college and our community to new heights. First, we'll continue pushing for the success of our students. We're building on the momentum of our remarkable accreditation and doing everything in our power to eliminate barriers and open doors of opportunity for our students. Second, we'll continue nurturing and learning and our working environment based on diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. The challenges of the past 18 months have been underscored, has truly underscored the need to recognize our shared humanity. We'll continue learning from one another and treat each other with the dignity, compassion, and fully deserving of opportunity. Third, we plan to elevate our civic engagement and regional leadership. We're 95 years old and quickly approaching our first 100 years of existence as a district. Our goal is to deepen our roots within our community. We'll strengthen our bridges with the K-12 schools, our 4-year universities, our industry partners, and community organizations. And in the process, we're going to bring new resources to support our students and live up to our mission as the community's college. And fourth, we're going to ensure sound fiscal stewardship. We recognize our responsibility of being effective stewards with our community's college. And we must protect our financial future so that we can continue to serve our students, not only today, but tomorrow as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't do this work alone. It takes a team to support all of our students, a village, if you will. So there are 3 areas where we welcome your continued partnership. Continue advocating for Cal Grant reform, specifically supporting AB 1456 to expand student financial aid to cover the rising cost of living. Continue to advocate for state and federal investments to support affordable student housing and the basic needs of our students. Students don't learn when they're hungry. Students don't learn when they haven't had a decent night's sleep under a roof. We can't expect our faculty to do their best to teach students who have not had their basic needs met. And continue advocating for textbook affordability. We are grateful to the governor and the legislature for the recent investments to scale up 0 textbook cost degrees. Textbooks, they shouldn't cost more than tuition in California. They should not. Yeah. And let me finish with this. We look forward to working closer with you because our students need us now more than ever. Because of the pandemic, we have seen a whole generations of students who were forced to pause their education. We cannot afford to lose this generation. They are intelligent, they are talented, and they have so much to contribute to our communities. We must bring them back to our colleges and help them get across the finish line. And I thank you. I thank all of you for giving us an opportunity to share a bit about our colleges today. So thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you as well for bringing San Bernardino here. During this, I could see the smiles coming off of Member Williams in his pride of being connected with San Bernardino. I got to tell you, he has been your biggest and loudest and most emphatic booster relative to this board, and he has not he has not gone unnoticed. And he had a right to be proud. I want to thank you so much for that presentation. With that, I want to open this up to board member comments or questions. And I do know that member Aguinaldo had a question. Hopefully she'll be able to ask it.
I did, Pam. Thank you very much. I had some technical issues, but appreciate your patience as we work that out on the. I just a belated comment. One is a note of congratulations to Diana for her elevation. I think since we last spoke, you were formerly the president at SECC, and now you have a tremendous leadership role and opportunity there. And I'm sure it's not only reflective of your individual excellence, but of the wonders of your team. And we had the privilege of meeting with them at the site visit, and it was really an eye-opening opportunity to recognize all the work that they're doing to be responsive and inclusive of the student voice, but also what a hyper-focus they have on economic mobility. I did not personally have such an awareness around the role of the San Bernardino area in being an economic engine in California, specifically, almost being a mirror image of what we could see on the coast with respect to being a distribution center. And with the hyper focus on the automotive, the transportation, the materials distribution, the logistics industry, and their partnership with really unique corporations in the area, I think we can perceive them as a wonderful center for business. So just, a belated shout out to you and your team, Diana, for the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't see other member Tarasova. Excuse me, Tarasova.
I have a bad habit of raising my hand just as you say that you don't see any raised hands. I apologize for that. Congratulations and thank you, Chancellor Rodriguez and your team for this fantastic spotlight presentation and championing important initiatives such as textbook costs and promoting DEI work across the state. Moreover, I would like to thank you for keeping in mind my comment from the May visit and bringing your wonderful students trustee along. And therefore, my question for them, Student Trustee Sanchez and Ashlock, what are some issues that students on your campuses are facing right now, and how are you working with the campus administration to address them?
Thank you, Trustee Tarasova. Some issues that we have faced on our campus include issues with vaccine mandates, and mostly it's revolving around that and in-person classes. I know a lot of people have conflicting opinions on whether they want classes to be in-person, hybrid, or fully online. So there's been some dissonance with that we have been trying to solve, and in doing so, we have brought it to the board and we are working on that. Thank you.
Okay, that went to both student trustees. And I don't see, I don't see the other student trustee, but that, any other questions from the board? All right. Executive Vice Chancellor Alvarado, do you want to close us out on this? This is an action item. And so do you want me to read the recommended language?
President Haynes, would you like to take public
Oh,
comment?
public comment. My goodness, so sorry, so sorry. Yes, I think we would like to take public comment.
The public comment period for item 4.8 is now open. Please use the raise hand feature to make a comment to the board. If you're calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. We did not receive any written comments on this item, and I will hand it over to my colleague Gary for hands raised.
We do have a hand raised. Christina Hannon, you have control of your mic and can address the board. Let's see. So I have given her permission to address the board and sent an ask to unmute notice, but I do not believe she's unmuted.
If you'd like to move forward, if she raises her hand again, we'll catch it.
Okay. Then I think it's appropriate to at least read what we are voting on again. It was mentioned relative to this particular action item. It's recommended that the Board of Governors approve moving the campus site visit to a date in 2022 that is coordinated by the district and the Chancellor's office and in accordance with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. So that's what we're going to be voting on. So can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Anderson.
Second, Williams.
Okay, so Anderson moves and Williams seconds that motion. Can I get the roll call, please?
President Haynes, my apologies. We did just have a member of the public raise their hand. Would you like to address that comment?
Yes, please. Before we vote, yes, absolutely.
Okay, Harry Bernstein, you have control of your mic and can address the board.
Yes, that was an amazing quick tour of San Bernardino here in Northern California. I haven't heard too much about them, so that was marvelous. I'm wondering if someone from there could tell me how many students there are in the in their two campuses, because I noticed, for instance, that the auditorium or theater for the Performing Arts Center that they were talking about is a very modest size. And I'm wondering if they have I thought it was very innovative to use the Books Plus as a recruitment campaign, because I know at my college, San Francisco, City College of San Francisco, we've had a tremendous loss of students and the decline is continuing. And some of the students, they've done surveys, and some students say they would only come to school if there are distance education. Others have said they would only come if there is in-person education. The buildings have not been renovated sufficiently, and we're having to delay the return to campus. We've only recently had a vaccination mandate, which is largely approved. So, well, thank you very much for your input.
Thank you for your interest, Mr. Bernstein. With that particular comment, we are going to move We have a motion and a second, so can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Hildegard Aguinaldo,
Aye.
Darius Anderson,
Yes.
Amy Costa,
Aye.
Tom Epstein,
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo,
Aye.
Jolina Grande,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
Aye.
Kevin Hall,
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis, Irma Olguin Jr.,
Aye.
Jennifer Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Aye.
Roy Shabazian,
Yes.
Yulia Tarasova,
I in hopes to visit San Bernardino before the end of my term.
Blas Villalobos,
Aye.
Joseph Williams,
Aye.
and one more time, Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis. Thank you, President Haynes. The motion carries.
Thank you. I would like to call on Acting Chancellor Gonzalez to close us out on this particular item.
Thank you, President Haynes. And I just wanted to thank our Chancellor Rodriguez and her team for joining us today. She may have started August 1st, but she was working on this presentation and preparing to meet all of you virtually well before August 1st. And I know that they have an incredible, hopefully, celebration planned for 2022. So we look forward to joining you then. I will also just add thank you for your work. Thank you for showing a great example of how federal dollars can be used to help students. And I know that it has been a crazy time since the day that you started, since August 1st in your new role. So just really grateful for spending so much time with us today. And of course, to the rest of your team and all of the student trustees, thank you, Lauren. Thank you for joining us here. And then Elena, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you for that. This is going to be our last item for the day. I want to thank my colleagues on the board for hanging in there. It's about 10 minutes after 5, but it was absolutely worth those 10 minutes to hear from San Bernardino. So the business on day 1 is complete, and the board will recess until tomorrow, Tuesday, September the 21st at 9 a.m. to hear the remaining items. And again, thank you so much for hanging in. I know it's been a long day for you. I look forward to get a good night's sleep, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
Thank you, Pam. See you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
Hey, Pam, so we'll do that tomorrow morning.
Yes, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, President Haynes. Appreciate the opportunity.
It was such a pleasure to meet you virtually.
Thank you. Same here.